Chapter 159. In this era, the fist was the hard truth. She had merely let Shangwan Liuli taste some bitterness. At this moment, Shangwan Liuli was filled with fear towards Yiqing Luo. She stomped her feet and angrily rebuked. Don't you know who she is? She is a waste from the Earth Profound class. The one with the worst aptitude and foundation and never goes to class. Shangwan Liuli felt extremely aggrieved. This woman didn't fawn on her, one of the four great families, but helped a waste instead. Was she sick in the head? Yiqing Luo didn't know what Shangwan Liuli was thinking and wasn't interested to know. She chuckled, and her eyes were filled with endless ridicule. So what? Waste. Earth Profound class? Yiqing Luo didn't believe that a person with that pair of cold and proud eyes would be a waste. Even now, Mo Ingyu's lifeless eyes were destined to not be an ordinary person. What's more, to be able to clearly mention the godless island and the three evils would be a waste. Shangwan Liuli was choked by Yiqing Luo's words and turned to leave with a flushed face. Lowly trash is lowly trash. If the two of you get together, you'll be able to form a group of trash. Pa! Shangwan Liuli slammed the door with a loud bang. The entire dormitory seemed to be shaken. Why didn't you fight back? Yiqing Luo held her hand and pulled her up with a little force. Mo Ingyu tilted her head and looked at Yiqing Luo with a pair of lifeless eyes without saying a word. Even the hand that held Yiqing Luo's hand was frozen there and didn't withdraw. It was like a puppet without a soul. This thought stunned Yiqing Luo, and she subconsciously tightened her grip on Mo Ingyu's hand. The touch was soft, smooth, and the temperature was normal. 5 fingers clasped her wrist, and there was a pulse beating. She was 100% sure that Mo Ingyu was a person. But why did a person live like a puppet without any expression or soul? Yiqing Luo frowned slightly and let go of Mo Ingyu's hand. She didn't want to say, and Yiqing Luo naturally didn't bother to ask. It was until Yiqing Luo returned to her own room and was about to close the door when that little Lolita, who had been standing at the same spot in silence, slowly raised her head. Fighting back is troublesome. I'm tired. It was still the same childish voice, spitting out the words one by one. Because he found it troublesome and tiring, he obediently took the beating. This answer made Yiqing Luo really speechless. Then at the back door of the academy, why did you watch the show in the dark and even leave me to change my target to the godless island? This time, Mo Ingyu answered quickly. That's the 3 evils of Wu. How do you prove it? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Mo Ingyu's face was expressionless, her eyes empty. Yiqing Luo couldn't use her ability to see through people's hearts on Mo Ingyu. Mo Ingyu blinked her eyes. Her delicate and adorable little face began to change slightly. Her delicate and thin eyebrows were knitted together. Her entire face was wrinkled, and a trace of hostility appeared between her brows. Her pink lips pouted as she muttered in a flustered and exasperated manner. Troublesome. How troublesome. So troublesome. She flicked her sleeves, and the 2 pink fur balls on her sleeve swayed. The black bell gave out a jingle-jingle sound. Immediately, Mo Ingyu went straight into the room next to Yiqing Luo's and closed the door. Yiqing Luo touched her nose. This was the first time she met with a rebuff since she came to this strange world. Chapter 160. Yiqing Luo rested in the dormitory for a few hours until she heard the school's huge bell ringing. She rubbed her eyes and got up from the bed. Looking at the sky outside the window, it should be around 5 p.m. now. There was still half an hour before the freshmen's meeting. Yiqing Luo stretched herself, and Chi jumped off the bed. Its little body trembled as it raised its head and licked its lips. Hungry. Speaking of which, I'm a little hungry too. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand towards Chi and it leaped up. 1 person and 1 beast went out of the room. Mo Ingyu's room was still tightly shut. Yiqing Luo couldn't sense her breath and didn't know if she was in the room at this time. Shangwan Liuli still hadn't returned. The dormitory was quiet, and there was no sign of human activity. Yiqing Luo sighed and opened the door. Just as she was about to go out, a delicate lady rushed towards her and collided with her. Chi-Chi was knocked flying and rolled on Yi Qing Luo's bed. It opened its mouth and smelled its master's warm scent. It closed its eyes and fell asleep again. Yi Qing Luo didn't notice it and looked at the lady who was knocked down. She was dressed in a long emerald green dress with unique hair tied up and a pretty face. The lady also wore a silk bracelet on her wrist and a pink belt with gold patterns on her waist. She looked extremely youthful and lively. Sorry. The lady quickly bowed down to apologize and squatted on the ground to pick up the scattered luggage. I'm the one who knocked into you. I should be the one apologizing. Yi Qing Luo hooked her lips and squatted down to pick up the luggage for the lady. Yi Qing Luo's principle was very simple. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. Just like this lady, her attitude was gentle. As the saying goes, don't hit a smiling face. Moreover, this was her roommate, someone who would be living together for a period of time in the future. Yi Qing Luo's expression softened a little. After picking up the luggage for the lady, she hugged the package and stuck out her tongue in embarrassment. Sorry to let you see such a joke. This is my room, and that room is also occupied. You can choose one of the other two. Yi Qing Luo pointed to the remaining 2 rooms. The lady walked towards a room opposite Yi Qing Luo and pushed the door open. Tossing the things onto the bed, a satisfied expression appeared on his face. Phew, the environment is really good. I've finally arrived at the academy. I must have a feast tonight to make up for my exhaustion today. She opened her arms and twirled around. When he turned towards Yi Qing Luo, he then realized that there was someone else in the room. His movements immediately stiffened, and he awkwardly scratched his head as he smiled. I'm sorry, I embarrassed myself again. I'm used to being at home. It's okay. She's cute. Yi Qing Luo curled her lips and stretched out her hand. I'm Yi Qing Luo, your roommate. Let's take care of each other in future. She was indeed very cute, compared to those who looked gentle on the surface, but were actually cruel and merciless. Yi Qing Luo preferred someone like Shangwan Liuli or this girl, someone who could see through one's thoughts. At the very least, there was no need to painstakingly plot against each other. My name is Lu Xiaoyu. The woman hurriedly stretched out her hand and shook hands with Yi Qing Luo. Finally, there was a normal person. Pack your luggage. I've got to find something to eat. Yi Qing Luo glanced at the messy things on the bed. Are you hungry? I have a lot of food here. Lu Xiaoyu rummaged through the pile of things on the bed and took out a tightly tied package. She sat on the bed and placed the package on her lap. Her fingers deftly untied the knot. It was a wooden box. After opening it, there were a total of 3 layers inside, and each layer was filled with exquisite pastries. Chapter 161. Lu Xiaoyu nibbled on the pastry and didn't forget to pass the wooden box to Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo was indeed hungry and didn't stand on ceremony. She took out a piece and nibbled on it. A strong red bean taste filled her mouth, leaving a fragrant aftertaste in her mouth. Delicious, right? Lu Xiaoyu raised her eyebrows proudly. Our chef is the best chef. I love these pastries the most. Yi Qing Luo nodded with a smile. The taste was indeed good. Do you know who our other 2 roommates are? Yi Qing Luo finished the pastries and wiped her hands. Mo Ingyu, Shangwan Luli. Lu Xiaoyu put the wooden box on the bed and stood up suddenly. Shangwan Luli is also in this dormitory? Yi Qing Luo nodded lightly. Then she was crying outside that someone bullied her, was you? Lu Xiaoyu's eyes widened in disbelief. Crying? Bullied? Yi Qing Luo's eyes twitched. Shangwan Luli really didn't care about her reputation at all? Crying outside. Was she afraid that others wouldn't know that the dignified Shangwan 5th Missy was bullied on the first day of school? If I'm not wrong, it should be me. Wow. Lu Xiaoyu held Yi Qing Luo's hand with both hands. Her dark eyes sparkled brightly. Qing Luo, you're amazing. Shangwan Lu Li is a mystic profound 2nd grade. It is said that she has been allocated to the high profound class. You actually beat her. After shouting excitedly, Lu Xiaoyu's face sank. But you have to be careful. Shangwan Lu Li's third brother is in the high profound class and has gathered a group of his own forces in the Heavenly Academy. If you offend Shangwan Lu Li, her third brother will definitely find trouble with you. My principle is not to cause trouble, but also not to be afraid of trouble. Yiqing Luo smiled and let go of Lu Xiaoyu's hand. All right, I will settle Shangwan Lu Li's matter. You go and tidy up the room first. The freshman assembly is about to start. When it was time, the school bell rang. A burst of neat and loud voices spread from the school. Listening to the voices, there were about a dozen people, and they used their profound energy to spread their voices to every corner of the academy. Attention, new students! Attention, new students! Hurry and report to the academy's plaza. After the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, all the new students must arrive at the plaza. Otherwise, it will be a major demerit. The voice rang out more than 10 times before it stopped. Outside the door, the clamor of students could be heard as they swarmed towards the square. Yiqing Luo remembered the punishment for mistakes she had seen in the handbook. A student only had 3 major demerits and 5 minor demerits. Once a mistake exceeded the record, they would be fired. Yiqing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu packed up and arrived at the public square together. The two women, one cold and enchanting, the other elegant and charming, immediately attracted the attention of countless people. Although there were quite a number of beauties in the academy, but there weren't many stunning beauties like Yiqing Luo. Moreover, who would complain about having too many beauties? Yiqing Luo found a spot and pulled Lu Xiaoyu to a corner. The academy occupied a vast area with a total of more than 50 halls. There was also a huge square, which was even bigger than the assessment square. It was divided into 3 sections: High Profound Class, Intermediate Class, and Earth Profound Class. There were all kinds of learning equipment, weapons, and so on. This was the place for students to train and exercise. Their freshman assembly was held in this square. The time it took to burn a stick of incense was soon up. Chapter 162. The freshman assembly was a traditional activity of the Heavenly Academy. It was also an opportunity for the students to get to know each other. Atop the platform of the plaza stood the 3 sovereign teachers who had participated in the ability test. Guiyu stood at the corner of the high platform, squinting his eyes, searching for Yiqing Luo's position in the crowd. When he saw Yiqing Luo, his old eyes widened and waved excitedly at her. As a master on the high platform, every move of his was watched by countless eyes. This action of Guiyu was naturally noticed by many. They couldn't help but look towards the direction where Guiyu waved. Their line of sight was fixed on Yiqing Luo. Qing Luo, do you feel that? Everyone is looking at you. Lu Xiaoyu had never been in contact with such a big scene. She subconsciously held Yiqing Luo's arm and squeezed closer to her. Yiqing Luo's hand froze. She had never been in such close contact with others. Yiqing Luo was not used to it, but she didn't hate this feeling. It's not like we are shameful. Let them see if they want to see. Lu Xiaoyu was after all thin-skinned. Her eyes drooped down and her cheeks were stained with crimson. Yiqing Luo sighed and gently patted Lu Xiaoyu's hand. Raising her bewitching eyes, her expression sunk slightly. Her gaze transformed into a cold and sharp glint that pierced towards everyone who was looking over. The powerful aura made the freshmen shrink their necks. Cough, cough, cough. The headmaster is here. The headmaster is here. Freshmen, please be quiet. The master on the stage eased the atmosphere. As soon as the voice fell, a white figure descended from the sky and landed steadily in the middle of the high platform. That was an old man. A set of white robe covered him tightly, revealing only a pair of sharp and astute eyes and white hair scattered on his shoulders. The body under the white robe seemed to have no bones. The white robe was hanging loosely in the air. The old man was holding an agate-colored walking stick in his hand. The agate jade on the top of the walking stick was flickering with electric brilliance, symbolizing his status, the heavenly headmaster. The moment he appeared, all the freshmen in the field immediately shifted their eyes to the high platform. Each of them revealed a look of fear, trembling as they stood straight and held their breath. This was authority. It was a majesty that made one's body react instinctively. The entire freshman area was silent, so quiet that even their own breathing could be heard clearly. Even the old students and the headmasters who were standing outside of the meeting were in awe. The heavenly dean coughed lightly. His voice was old and full of majesty. "I am the dean of this academy. Welcome to the heavenly academy." His voice paused, and he raised the walking stick in his hand. A square-shaped stone slab appeared above his head. "Everyone, take out your wooden tablet and stamp it on the protruding part of the stone slab." A teacher stepped forward and took the stone slab. Then, he carried the stone slab and walked down the high platform. Starting from the first freshman, each of them took out the wooden token they received when they registered and imprinted it on the stone slab. Every time a wooden tablet was imprinted, the slate would emit a dazzling light. The students took turns to imprint the wooden token, and the heavenly dean continued on the high platform. "I don't care what your identity is outside the school or what class you are assigned to. Once you enter the heavenly academy, you have to listen to the arrangements of the heavenly academy." Chapter 163. The freshman responded almost subconsciously, "Yes." The headmaster nodded in satisfaction and continued to speak. It was some general principles that everyone understood. After the long-winded speech, the other masters came over to continue. Teacher Wen's representative went up on stage and gave a long series of lectures on how to be a person. On the other hand, Wu Fuzi's speech was crude and easy to understand, but it was also filled with an awe-inspiring boldness. The entire event lasted for about 4 hours. The headmaster then announced the successful end of the event. Just like when he came, he leaped, and his white robe flitted across the night sky and disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. His speed was so fast that countless new students exclaimed in admiration, and they were filled with reverence for Dean Xian. In the crowd, Yi-Ching Luo sneered disdainfully. "The headmaster is so awesome. Qing Luo, don't you think so?" Hearing Yi-Ching Luo's sneer, Lu Xiaoyu retracted her gaze from the direction where the headmaster disappeared. Yi-Ching Luo lightly hooked her lips and did not answer. She did not have the slightest bit of respect for this so-called heavenly dean. On the contrary, she felt that this headmaster was too good at pretending. Which of the headmasters of the academy was not highly respected and had a scholarly air about them? And when the headmaster appeared, he didn't take the easy way out and chose to descend from the sky, as if he was afraid that others didn't know his profound grade. And when he left, he even showed his hand. No matter how one looked at him, he didn't look like a respectable senior. After the crowd sent off the headmaster, the three masters stood on the high platform and said the closing remarks. Accompanied by the applause, the masters repeated, "All freshmen, don't forget to report to the square tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for training and class allocation." In the end, the four masters removed the enchantment and dispersed. Yi-Ching Luo held Lu Xiaoyu and stood still. After a while, Yi Fengyu trotted over with the luggage. The moment he saw Yi-Ching Luo, a big smile appeared on his handsome face. "Sister, I've already moved into the dormitory and got along well with my roommates." Yi-Ching Luo took the luggage and touched Yi Fengyu's head. "Don't trust others too easily. No one will treat you unconditionally for no reason. Be careful." Hearing this, Yi Fengyu was slightly startled, and the smile on his face froze. After a long while, he nodded seriously. "Thank you for reminding me, big sister. I understand." While the siblings were still talking, some of the freshmen who had been standing there for 4 hours felt their legs go numb. Without any strength, they returned to their dormitories to rest. The bustling square gradually quietened down. "Qing Luo, bad news." Lu Xiaoyu suddenly tugged at Yi-Ching Luo's sleeve. Up ahead, Shangwan Liuli was pulling a man dressed in the academy's uniform over. Behind the man were 5 or 6 other men. Yi-Ching Luo's eyes narrowed as she saw the badge on the man's chest, emitting a golden Gao word. High-profound class students. Shangwan Liuli's third brother? Yi-Ching Luo's brows rose, but there was no expression on her face. "Sister, what's going on?" Yi Fengyu felt that the atmosphere was strange. That group of people were obviously here for Yi-Ching Luo. It was only the first day of school, and there were already people who wanted to deal with his sister? Yiqing Luo shook her head lightly and pulled Yi Fengyu and Lu Xiaoyu behind her. Coincidentally, Shangguan Liuli and the group of men had already arrived in front of Yiqing Luo. The appearance of the students from the high-level class immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding students. On one side were the senior students dressed in the academy's uniform, and on the other side were the freshmen dressed in ordinary clothes. From the looks of it, it was obvious that there were freshmen who were not afraid of death and went against the students from the high-level class. Chapter 164. Are you the roommate who shares a room with Lu Li? The third young master of the Shangguan family, Shangguan Fong, he stared at Yiqing Luo and asked with a smile. Although he was in the academy, Shangguan Fong, he had heard of Yiqing Luo's deeds. Originally, he thought the rumors were too exaggerated. But after seeing her today, he believed the rumors. Whether we are roommates or not, it's not certain yet. Yiqing Luo replied with a smile. Shangguan Fong, he frowned. He was an old student of the academy and a student of the high profound class. No matter how capable Yiqing Luo was, she should at least give him some face. But Yiqing Luo was so arrogant. No wonder his arrogant sister was so angry that she cried and made a fuss. You want to drive me out of the dormitory? Shangguan Lu Li's face turned red with anger. She relied on her brother's support and was not afraid of Yiqing Luo. She walked out from behind Shangguan Fong, and pointed at Yiqing Luo. The Heavenly Academy has no regulations on changing dormitory. Don't even think of driving me out. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Did I say I will drive you out of the dormitory? Shangguan Liuli was speechless. She was embarrassed and angry at the same time. She stomped her feet and tugged at Fong Fong Yi's sleeve. Seventh Miss Yi, since you did not want to drive Lu Li out, why did you speak ill of her in the dormitory and even broke her hand? Shangguan Fong Yi's face sunk slightly. He admitted that a woman like Yiqing Luo was enough to attract his attention. But this did not mean that the dignity of the Shangguan family was allowed to be trampled on by Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's attitude was obviously not putting the Shangguan family in her eyes. He purposely raised his voice so that the people around him could hear his words, which were very reasonable. This was also to explain to the people around that he was not bullying the freshmen, but to seek justice for his sister. Yiqing Luo chuckled, crossed her arms, and looked at him with a faint smile. Then why don't you ask your precious sister? There are 4 people in the dormitory. Why did I specifically bully her? The surrounding people let out a hiss. They all agreed with Yiqing Luo's words. Many of the people around were young masters and young ladies of influential families. Naturally, they had heard of Shangguan Liuli's arrogance. If it wasn't for the provocation, who would be so bored as to quarrel with their roommates on the first day of school? One had to know that in the Heavenly Academy, once the dormitory was set, there would not be any changes until graduation. No matter what, you're the one who seriously injured Liuli. You should apologize. Shangguan Fongyi's face turned ashen when he heard the agreement from the surrounding students. He took a step back. Those 6 old students behind them surrounded Yiqing Luo and the others. Out of these 6 men, 4 were from the intermediate class, 1 was from the low class, and the last one hid his class. He must be a student from the low profound class. This action caused an uproar among the crowd. Are they going to start fighting at the slightest disagreement? One by one, they walked further away, afraid that they would be implicated in this disaster. Yi Fengyu's face darkened as he pulled Yiqing Luo's hand and stood in front of her. Sister, they're simply taking advantage of their power to bully others. They want you to apologize and protect the Shangguan family's reputation. Lu Xiaoyu shrunk behind Yiqing Luo. Her big, bright eyes flashed as she stared at the 6 people surrounding her. Qing Luo, do you want to fight? Didn't you read the rules of the Heavenly Academy properly? Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile as she stared at Shangguan Fengyi and said word by word, students who engage in private fights in the school will be given a major demerit. Chapter 165. There was a hint of surprise in Shangguan Fengyi's eyes. Yiqing Luo was just a freshman. How would she know the rules of the Heavenly Academy? Speaking of taking advantage of one's power to bully others, Yi Qing Luo gave a low laugh and put her arm over his shoulder. In the Heavenly Academy, who can compete with your power? Yi Fengyu was at a loss, not understanding the meaning of his sister's words. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a smile as her peripheral vision caught a glimpse of a white figure flashing past the crowd. She raised her voice and said, "According to third young master Shangwan, if fifth Miss Shangwan attacks me, I have to stand still and let her severely injure me." Yi Qing Luo's voice paused as she sneered coldly. "I really can't agree with the Shangwan family's robber logic." When the crowd heard this, they couldn't help but roar with laughter. In front of everyone, Shangwan Fengyi was humiliated like this. His face turned red and green, and he clenched his fists so tightly that his veins were bulging. The Academy's rules did indeed state that private fights were not allowed within the Academy. The 6 men were only putting on an act. None of them dared to make a move. They had really belittled Yi Qing Luo. With just a few words, she had actually dragged the Shangwan clan into this. If the people around them were laughing at him or Shangwan Liuli, it would be fine. Unfortunately, under Yi Qing Luo's lead, all of them were looking at the Shangwan family as a joke. Shangwan Fengyi could not take this lying down. "Third brother, look at her. She doesn't even put our Shangwan family in her eyes." Shangwan Liuli pouted and shook Shangwan Fengyi's arm. Ever since she was young, she had always been a flower in a greenhouse. Her family had always held her in the palm of their hands and cared for her as she grew up. He had never suffered any grievances. Even if she caused trouble outside, as long as she mentioned the Shangwan clan, no one would dare to say anything bad about her. This was the first time in Shangwan Liuli's life that she had met someone who wasn't afraid of her Shangwan family. "Shut up," Shangwan Fengyi scolded her sternly. This spoiled, willful, big-breasted, brainless sister of his really gave him a headache. At this moment, Shangwan Liuli still had to use the name of the Shangwan clan. He was not afraid of a godlike opponent, but he was afraid of a pig-like teammate. Shangwan Liuli was definitely a pig-like teammate. No matter how much Shangwan Fengyi doted on his sister, for a man, the face of the family was naturally more important than his sister. He raised his hand and slapped Shangwan Liuli's face. Shangwan Liuli was so stunned that she even forgot to cry. She covered half of her face in a daze and looked at Shangwan Fengyi in disbelief. After a long while, tears the size of beans gushed out of her eyes. She pointed at Shangwan Fengyi, her whole body trembling. "You hit me. Third brother, I will tell father." After saying that, she covered her face and ran away, crying bitterly. After witnessing the dog-eat-dog drama, Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as her lips curled into a mocking smile. "Move aside." His gaze slowly swept across the 6 men surrounding him. A chill ran down his spine, from the soles of his feet to his head. That gaze seemed to be able to take their lives at any moment. When they heard Yi Qing Luo's cold and enchanting voice, their legs subconsciously opened up a path. Yi Qing Luo glanced at Shangwan Fengyi with ridicule as she led Yi Fengyu and Lu Xiaoyu out of their encirclement and walked towards the direction of the dormitory without turning back. "Stop right there." Chapter 166. "I'm being overbearing." Yi Qing Luo snorted coldly. Her charming eyes flashed. "Let the students be the judge. When was I being overbearing?" She changed the topic, her pink lips raised lightly. "Moreover, if it wasn't for the Shangwan 5th Miss who insisted on using the Shangwan family to suppress me, why would I mention them?" These words were extremely sarcastic. Who was Yi Qing Luo? The young matriarch of Three Springs sect, the future matriarch. Even though the current Three Springs sect was gradually falling behind in the hands of Yi Tianquan, but no one could shake the position of one of the 4 major sects in the Nirvana realm. A mere cultivator's family was nothing in Yi Qing Luo's eyes. Shangwan Liuli was simply a clown in front of Yi Qing Luo. The onlookers looked at Shangwan Fengyi with even more ridicule. Shangwan Fengyi's face turned ashen and gloomy. In the Heavenly Academy, everything starts from zero. The affairs of us students have nothing to do with the family. I hope 7th Miss can distinguish this clearly. You'd better say this to the Shangguan 5th Mississippi. Yi Ching Luo rolled her eyes. She was puzzled. These people with eyes on the top of their heads, did they not understand human language? That's right, in the Heavenly Academy, all students are equal. Suddenly, a vigorous and powerful voice came from the crowd. An old man, with his hands behind his back, walked over in a sloppy manner. A head of white hair, messily tied into a ball, a white master's robe hanging loosely on his body, askew. He looked like a crazy old man. But in the academy, I have the backing of the Yi siblings. I am the force behind them. Who else could this crazy but arrogant old man be other than Old Man Guiyu? Master, Yi Fengyu called out joyfully upon seeing Old Man Guiyu. It was obvious that Old Man Guiyu had met him and accepted him as his disciple after Yi Fengyu entered the academy. Yi Ching Luo's brows softened. The smile on the corner of her mouth also added some gentleness. It seemed that she need not worry about Yi Fengyu in the future. With Old Man Guiyu's care, Yi Fengyu would definitely be successful in the Heavenly Academy. Based on Old Man Guiyu's character, Yi Ching Luo was not afraid that Yi Fengyu would be bullied by others. Even without her, Old Man Guiyu would strike first. Master Guiyu, Yi Ching Luo greeted him. Hearing the way Yi Ching Luo addressed him, Old Man Guiyu's face lit up with joy as he strode over. Luo lass, leave this to me. Bring you back to the dormitory first. Master Guiyu. Shangguan Fengyi looked at Guiyu with an ugly expression. As the young master of the Shangguan family, and having stayed in the Heavenly Academy for several years, he was naturally aware of Old Man Guiyu's identity. If Old Man Guiyu intervened in this matter, he would have to swallow this matter into his stomach. My disciple, the Luo girl that I have my eyes on, you dare to stop me? High-profound class students can do whatever they want in the academy. Old Man Guiyu turned to Shangguan Fengyi, and his face turned cold. Shangguan Fengyi suppressed his anger, lowered his head, and replied respectfully, "Student doesn't dare. Student just wants to help my sister." Old Man Guiyu squinted his eyes and pointed at Shangguan Fengyi arrogantly, not leaving any face for him. The person that I have my eyes on, I know very well what kind of character she has. You have to see if you have the capital to slander my person in front of me. These words caused Shangguan Fengyi to be unable to spit out a single word. Chapter 167. Yi Ching Luo's lips curled up into a smile as she put the luggage on Yi Fengyu's shoulder. Let's go. Help me tidy up the room. But master, Yi Fengyu held the luggage and glanced at the direction of Old Man Guiyu. Master was helping them out of trouble. If it just left like that, wouldn't it be too heartless? Fool. Yi Ching Luo knocked on Yi Fengyu's head. What have you been learning in the Yi family for the past 10 years? Why are you so stupid? Yi Fengyu looked at his sister blankly, not understanding the meaning of her words. Master Guiyu, I'll leave this to you. We have training tomorrow morning. We'll go back to the dormitory first. Yi Ching Luo shouted at Old Man Guiyu's back. Old Man Guiyu waved his hand and motioned for them to leave. Yi Ching Luo pulled Yi Fengyu and Lu Xiaoyu and turned to leave. The surrounding crowd spontaneously made way for them. After a while, the three of them arrived at the female dormitory area. Yi Fengyu was blocked by the guards outside the area. Yi Ching Luo pulled over the luggage on his shoulder and patted his head. You just go back to the dormitory. Don't bother your master. Master, Yi Fengyu looked troubled. Shangguan Fengyi didn't speak for a long time. Obviously, he doesn't want to have any conflict with us, but for the sake of the family's reputation, he needs a way out. It's the first day of school. We don't need to make things too big. Since Master Guiyu is here, this way out is under his feet. If we were still here, he would naturally be embarrassed and would continue to pester us. Yi Ching Luo sighed softly and explained patiently. The siblings had lost their mother since they were young. Yi Tian Kuang never cared about them. Although Yi Fengyu studied in an ordinary school, the things taught by those masters were all dead logic. No one had taught him how to conduct himself in the world. Yi Fengyu nodded in realization. So, the power that sister mentioned is referring to Master's power. Master Guiyu's status in the school is very high. If you follow him, you will definitely not suffer. If he's willing to teach you, I'm sure you'll have a qualitative leap in your cultivation before long. Yi Qing Luo's hand slid from her brother's head to his ear and pinched it fiercely. As a man, if you want to protect sister, then learn well from teacher Gue Yu. Don't always think that sister will help you when you run into trouble. Everything depends on yourself, understand? Yi Feng Yu covered his ears in pain and repeatedly responded. Go back and have a good rest. Don't embarrass me in tomorrow's training. Yi Qing Luo released his ear. Seeing that his ears had turned red, she rubbed them, her heart aching for him. The siblings exchanged a few more words of concern before sending Yi Feng Yu off. After returning to the dormitory, the entire dormitory was silent. Mo Yue's room was still quiet. It seemed like he didn't see Mo Yu at the freshman competition either. Shangwan Liuli wasn't in the dorm either. Qing Luo, Shangwan Liuli is famous for being pampered and unruly. Even if we temporarily reconcile tonight, I'm afraid third young master Shangwan will not let you off easily. Lu Xiaoyu followed closely behind Yi Qing Luo into her room, her eyes filled with worry. It's all right, don't worry. Yi Qing Luo placed her luggage on the bed and began to pack. In the luggage were some of Yi Qing Luo's daily necessities and 2 clean and thin bedding. Chapter 168. With Shangwan Fangyi's status and talent, it was destined that he would not be a nobody in the Heavenly Academy. What's more, to be able to grow up in the Shangwan family and even successfully enter the Heavenly Academy, one would naturally have a lot of schemes. Shangwan Fangyi had been teaching in the Heavenly Academy for at least 5 years. In the academy, he had naturally formed a wave of forces that belonged to him. If he were to secretly take action on Yi Qing Luo, there was no way to defend against it. Lu Xiaoyu's face was filled with worry, but when she saw Yi Qing Luo's expressionless face, calmly laying out the bed sheets, her heart became more anxious. Qing Luo, if he wants to make a move on me secretly, there's no use worrying about it. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled upwards as she smiled indifferently. Go to sleep. Tomorrow morning we have to go to the public square for training. Lu Xiaoyu still wanted to say something, but Yi Qing Luo continued. If you don't take a good rest, the assessment's overall score will be dragged down during training. If you are allocated to the low profound class, it will be very troublesome if you want to be promoted. Well, I won't. In short, it's better to be safe than sorry. If there's anything you need help with, feel free to look for me. I'm not afraid of offending them. Lu Xiaoyu patted Yi Qing Luo's shoulder with a firm gaze. Yi Qing Luo's smile gradually deepened. It felt great to be able to make good friends on the first day of school. Sending Lu Xiaoyu back to her room with her eyes, Yi Qing Luo closed the door and fell onto the bed. Closing his eyes, he prepared to extract his divine sense and enter the azure dew bracelet to cultivate his profound energy. Suddenly, she remembered something and sat up abruptly. Chi-Chi? No wonder he felt like something was missing. Yi Qing Luo's consciousness probed into the beast pet space, but she didn't find Chi-Chi. Before the freshman competition, Chi-Chi was resting with her in the room. When she bumped into Lu Xiaoyu, Chi-Chi was still on her shoulder. She immediately got off the bed and called out Chi-Chi's name in her heart, but there was no response at all. Damn it! Yi Qing Luo clenched her fists tightly as her brows creased tightly. His heart was filled with guilt towards Chi-Chi. She did not even know when Chi-Chi had left her shoulder. She could not even find Chi-Chi now. Ever since she contracted Mu Chi-Chi, she did not care much about Mu Chi-Chi. Yi Qing Luo gathered her long skirt and pushed open the tightly shut window, trying to sneak around the academy to find out where Chi-Chi was. There were many experts in the Heavenly Academy, and she was worried that Chi-Chi would be mistaken as an ordinary pet beast by other students or teachers and captured. As soon as she opened the window, a gust of cold wind blew into her face, causing her black hair to scatter. Yi Qing Luo turned her head and squinted her eyes as her hair fell on her eyelashes. Suddenly, her body stiffened. Her slender fingers brushed aside her hair, which had been messed up by the wind, and she stared at the pitch-black night sky. The wind brought a familiar scent of sandalwood. As it seeped into her nose, her restless heart inexplicably calmed down. It's him, DMO, Shin arrived. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, a strong and powerful arm wrapped around his waist. Her back was pressed against a hot, broad chest. The man's chin rested on her shoulder. His mellow and mesmerizing voice sounded beside her ear. Aluo, do you want to climb the window? His fresh and elegant sandalwood scent enveloped her completely. The man's warmth also covered her whole body, and she did not resist such an intimate action. There was no rejection at all. This man was really amazing. Chapter 169. What are you doing here? Yiqing Luo's fingers curled into a wisp of his black hair, twining around her fingers. DMO Xian's thin lips hooked up slightly, whispering, I missed you, so I came to see you. Sneaking into the Heavenly Academy in the middle of the night and touching the female dormitory. If the guard saw you, you will be regarded as a rapist. Yiqing Luo tugged at his long hair, raised her head, and looked at him playfully. But when she raised her head, she was met with a pair of peach blossom eyes. When they looked at each other, there seemed to be an electric current. Her body and mind suddenly went numb. Her heart was beating wildly. DMO Xian's brows were full of laziness. His 5 fingers lightly lifted her chin. Plucking is a flower. I wonder if Aluo is willing to let me pluck you? Yiqing Luo's cheeks flushed red. These words, why did it sound like he was expressing his feelings to her? Don't speak. It means you agree. DMO Xian's lips hooked up. The hand on her chin suddenly buckled. Her body, along with the strength of the man's fingertips, moved closer to the man. Immediately, that peerless face enlarged in her pupils. Warm lips pasted on her lips. Originally, it was just a simple touch. Yiqing Luo reacted and subconsciously stepped back. But the man's arm increased the strength. The big palm fell on the back of her head, forcefully deepening the kiss. He invaded her territory, occupying all her sweetness. Yiqing Luo's breathing was rapid. Her mind was blank. The strength of her body seemed to be drained by DMO Xian. Her whole body was numb. She had no consciousness to resist. Being hugged by him, being touched by him, she was used to it. It was nothing. But why was it that even kisses, she was used to it? She shouldn't be towards DMO Xian. This thought made Yiqing Luo quiver. The whole person immediately regained her senses. Woo, woo. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes revealed anger, raised her fist, struggling to pound on DMO Xian's chest. But DMO Xian seemed to deliberately go against her. The more she struggled, the fiercer he kissed, as if he wanted to kiss away all her reason and swallow her into his stomach. It was until the man's jet-black eyes turned deep black before he released Yiqing Luo's lips. Facing Yiqing Luo's angry and embarrassed expression, DMO Xian was like a cat that had stolen a fish, his lips curled into a satisfied smile. Looks like I picked the right flower. DMO Xian gave a low laugh as his fingers caressed his lips, seemingly wanting to continue. The taste is not bad. His actions, his words, made Yiqing Luo feel even more ashamed and indignant. She raised her arm and was about to slap him. Her speed was fast, but DMO Xian's speed was even faster. Just as he made his move, he felt a grip on his wrist. The man's large palm held her tightly, and then pulled her into his embrace. Yiqing Luo's face bumped into DMO Xian's chest. The fresh and elegant smell of sandalwood was getting thicker, as though it was going to make Yiqing Luo faint. Emperor, Ink, Mystic. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to lash out at DMO Xian, he immediately changed the topic. Luo, I'm here to return your things. You. Yiqing Luo gritted her teeth in anger. Damn it. This man was definitely her nemesis, wasn't he? Once she met him, she would definitely be at a disadvantage. He didn't play the cards according to common sense. Sure enough, it was a world where the bigger fist was the hard truth. She couldn't beat DMO Xian in a fight, couldn't scold DMO Xian. Even her sarcastic remarks could be ignored by DMO Xian. Chapter 170. Ow, ow, ow. The shrill cry of a pet beast came from behind him. This sound made Yiqing Luo's heart tremble. She didn't have a mood to criticize Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo used both her hands and feet to push Dmo Xian away. The moment she turned around, she saw a white fluffy ball standing behind her. Snow-white fur without any impurities. A pair of dark eyes were glowing with a watery luster, as if it was acting coquettishly. Wasn't it the missing Chi-Chi? Yiqing Luo opened her arms to it. Her eyes were filled with joy. Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi's tiger eyes were sparkling. Its little legs kicked and scuttled into Yiqing Luo's arms. Yiqing Luo picked it up and rubbed her little face on its furry head as her lips curled into an elegant arc. Dmo Xian leaned on one side, his hands crossed over his chest. The cold moonlight spilled in from the window, plated that handsome face with a layer of dazzling silver edge. Dmo Xian's pair of sparkling crystal peach blossom eyes squinted slightly, outlining a long and narrow demonic arc. His thin lips curled up slightly, his eyes locked deeply on Yiqing Luo. He smiled at Chi-Chi, smiling till his eyes were curved. The face that usually looked cold and arrogant and glamorous, was actually exceptionally gentle. His eyes couldn't help but become gentle. A pair of warm jade eyes gazed at Yiqing Luo. Outside the window, Wind, who was hiding in the dark, almost fell down from the branch when he saw this scene. Was this still the cold and ruthless overlord in his heart? Dmo Xian smiled faintly. He was looking at Yiqing Luo tenderly when he saw Yiqing Luo's pink lips imprinted on Chi-Chi's forehead. His brows suddenly trembled. Dmo Xian strode forward, stretched out his hand, and pulled Chi-Chi out from Yiqing Luo's arms. Holding its neck, his expression was ugly. "Are you male or female?" Yiqing Luo was just about to scold him for being crazy again. When she heard Dmo Xian's question, the corners of her mouth twitched. "Damn, what does male or female have to do with you?" Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand to snatch. Dmo Xian turned around and she pounced on empty air. The man lifted Chi-Chi and locked eyes with it. At this moment, that jet-black, peach blossom eyes, or was there any glimmer when he looked at Yiqing Luo earlier? Chi-Chi's hair stood up, and under Dmo Xian's threatening glare, it tucked its tail between its legs and whimpered twice. "Speak." Chi-Chi wagged her tail. "Oh, it was one of the 4 sacred beasts, the white tiger. Of course it was a male tiger." "Male?" Dmo Xian's eyes narrowed as an eerie chill arose. "Rescind the contract." "Dmo Xian, you're sick." Yiqing Luo snappily hooked onto Dmo Xian's waist and snatched Chi-Chi back with one hand. "Whether my companion is male or female has nothing to do with you." After Chi-Chi was snatched in her hands, Yiqing Luo was about to let go of Dmo Xian when the man suddenly tightened his arms and pulled her into his embrace. "Luo threw himself at you, and you still want to run?" Dmo Xian raised his brows slightly. His slender fingers easily hooked onto Chi-Chi from Yiqing Luo's hand. With a casual toss, Chi-Chi tumbled a few rounds in the air and fell onto the bed. The small body immediately burrowed into the mattress, only revealing a small tail. A sacred beast was actually frightened by Dmo Xian and became so obedient. Dmo Xian was really deserving of the Nirvana legend. Yiqing Luo's mouth couldn't help twitching. "Are you done?" Chapter 171. Yiqing Luo slapped the back of his hand fiercely. "Why did you bring my Chi-Chi out?" Dmo Xian didn't evade and let Yiqing Luo slap him. That slap was very forceful. Even Chi-Chi, who was curled up in the quilt, peeked out its little head and looked at them with twinkling eyes. However, the man's expression didn't change. Instead, he bent down, and his thin lips were almost on Yiqing Luo's neck. His hot breath sprayed on her skin bit by bit. "I picked it up casually. It has your scent on it." "Picked up?" Was her Chi-Chi so easy to pick up? Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes and looked at Chi-Chi. "You were really picked up by him?" Chi-Chi blinked and nodded its head. "Luo doesn't believe me." Dmo Xian turned her face and made her look at him. The man's face was full of resentment as he cupped Yi Qing Luo's face with both hands. Ah, Luo, do you think that I have ulterior motives towards this male tiger? Yi Qing Luo's eyes twitched. Was this really the legendary Overlord? Moreover, he was too obsessed with Chi-Chi's gender. You speak as if your nine-tailed fox is not a female. Yi Qing Luo rolled her eyes and pulled away the man's hand that was caressing her face. Nope. Then that's it. Your fox is a female, you. Yi Qing Luo's words stopped abruptly as her eyes widened. What the hell? Such a flirtatious nine-tailed fox. Was it not a female? In her mind, a picture suddenly came up. A seductive man dressed in a white velvet robe, with coquettish eyes winking at Mo. Simply too beautiful. So beautiful that Yi Qing Luo couldn't bear to think about it anymore. Your taste is quite heavy. Yi Qing Luo's lips twitched as she laughed dryly. All right, since you have sent Chi-Chi back, go do whatever you need to do. I need to rest. After Mo Xian's teasing, Yi Qing Luo believed his words. After all, Chi-Chi would not lie to her. She yawned and walked toward the bed. Just as he took a step forward, his waist suddenly tightened, and his body suddenly became light. When she came back to her senses, she was already half in the man's arms and lying on the bed. The man's black hair spilled over the bed like clouds and smoke. His purple robe was like a blossoming mandala, adding a touch of demonic charm to his appearance. He turned sideways, with one hand under Yi Qing Luo's head and the other around her waist. Yi Qing Luo's entire face was buried in his chest. His sandalwood scent filled his nostrils. You go to sleep. Mo Xian's thin lips curled into a slight arc as he shut his eyes tightly. I'm sleepy too. Go to sleep if you're tired. What are you trying to do by snatching my bed? Yi Qing Luo roared in her heart. Her hands and feet struggled, tried to push the man away. But Mo Xian's body was like a huge lock, trapping her, and she was unable to move at all. His arms moved up slightly and gently covered the back of her head. His magnetic, low, husky voice was like a lullaby in her ears. Be good. Don't make a fuss. Go to sleep. His big palm, through the black hair, exuded a scorching heat. It was warm and made her feel at ease. This was a feeling that Yi Qing Luo had never felt since her past life. While she was in a daze, the shallow breathing sound in her ears gradually calmed down. Had he fallen asleep? Yi Qing Luo moved a little and sensed no other changes in Mo Xian's breath. He might really be sleepy. Yi Qing Luo's body stiffened and no longer moved. Perhaps this embrace was too warm and made her feel at ease. Or perhaps Yi Qing Luo was also sleepy. After a while, she fell into a deep sleep. Chapter 172. This time, Yi Qing Luo slept exceptionally sweetly. When she was in the hidden family, Yi Qing Luo had developed the habit of being vigilant at all times. Even in her sleep, the slightest sound could wake her up. In particular, her strong perception was too sharp. She had never tasted the feeling of sleeping soundly. This time, Yi Qing Luo actually woke up after the academy's bell rang several times. Until Lu Xiaoyu came in to urge her to get up, she then slowly opened her eyes. Mo Xian was long gone. Her hand touched the side of her body. It was icy cold. He should have left for a period of time. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with astonishment as she sat on the bed in a daze. She had never slept so comfortably. She didn't even know when Mo Xian left. Slept until she didn't even know when Lu Xiaoyu entered her room. Her slender white palm, inch by inch, moved to her heart, her 5 fingers clutching the collar of her chest tightly. What drug did Mo Xian give her? It actually made her change her habits for many years unknowingly. He was really her nemesis. The academy's bell rang again. This was the last reminder bell for the gathering in the square. Yi Qing Luo immediately got up, dressed herself up with the fastest speed, changed into a set of light clothes, and gathered with Lu Xiaoyu at the square. This time was neither too early nor too late. The square was also considered quiet. Other than this batch of freshmen, there was a batch of students in the high profound class area and a few students in the intermediate profound class area undergoing morning training. In front of the freshmen, there were already two training instructors dressed in tight martial uniforms, with a big drill word printed on their backs. Their faces were cold, expressionless, and full of anger and majesty. Just by standing there, their imposing manner had already suppressed this group of freshmen. For the 500 people lined up under the call of the two training instructors. Dear freshmen, we are the instructors in charge of the freshmen's morning training. The two instructors called out. The instructor on the left had a cold face. His eyes were cold. My surname is he. Although the instructor on the right also had a majestic aura, the corner of his mouth hooked up with a slight smile. Coupled with the contrast of instructor he, it seemed easier to get along. My surname is Chu. Just call me Instructor Chu. Hello, Instructor he, Instructor Chu. The freshmen immediately stood up straight and shouted in unison. When training ends, it will be time for you to be divided into classes. This time's training will also be integrated into the overall results of your assessment. The final result will be the standard for your class placement. Instructor Chu smiled and explained today's training. Each of you has a piece of paper in your hands. After you are divided into classes, you can take it to the Faculty Affairs office to collect your uniform. From tomorrow onwards, you have to wear the academy uniform when you come to the plaza for training. Tomorrow? Do you still have to wake up so early tomorrow? An extremely low voice complained. I'd rather sleep in the dormitory than listen to your nagging. Although his voice was low, it could still be heard clearly in such a silent situation. All the students turned their gazes towards the direction of the grumbling, although these words were what they were thinking. But, roasting in front of the instructor, did he not want to stay in the academy anymore? Everyone wanted to see who this incredibly stupid person was. Students in the 5th row of the 2nd row, step out. Instructor he's voice was cold as he shouted. But after a long time, no one stepped out. On the contrary, the students who were called out were still looking left and right, as if trying to find out who the instructor was calling. She only reacted when the person beside her pushed her. Me? You? What right do you have to ask me to step out? She suddenly blushed and bit her red lips. Chapter 173. Based on what? Instructor Ho's eyes were cold, and his face showed a sarcastic smile. He walked straight to Shangguan Liuli, stretched out his hand, and easily lifted her up. How dare you touch me? I am the 5th Missy of the Shangguan family. Shangguan Liuli was so angry that her face turned red and struggled to slap the instructor's hand. Instructor Ho's hand was as tough as a stone. No matter how Shangguan Liuli pulled, it didn't budge at all. On the other hand, her exquisite hair and her gorgeous robe were already in a mess due to the struggle. When Instructor Ho threw her to the ground, Shangguan Liuli looked like a crazy woman. Her image was ruined. Before Shangguan Liuli could cry out, Instructor Ho had already walked in front of her and bent down slightly. His cold voice was extremely dignified. Based on the fact that I am your instructor, based on the fact that you have entered the Heavenly Academy, if you don't want to learn, then get lost. Wah! A sharp cry burst out from Shangguan Liuli's mouth. She covered her face, lying on the ground and crying bitterly. Her mouth kept on cursing. Yiqing Luo heard her own name and suddenly felt speechless. Damn, she was shot even though she was lying down. This girl's princess syndrome was probably in the late stage. Shut up, Instructor Ho shouted impatiently. Shangguan Liuli had never been shouted at like this before. When she was easily lifted up by Instructor Ho, she had no strength to resist and had an instinctive sense of fear towards Instructor Ho. At this time, when she heard Instructor Ho's stern shout, her mouth immediately flattened and sobbed a few times, not daring to make a sound, and looked at Instructor Ho timidly. Either return to the team, or get lost now. Shangguan Liuli bit her red lips, wiped her tears, and moved back to the team. Why did everyone have to bully her? She was bullied by Yiqing Luo yesterday, and didn't even return to the dormitory. She could only stay outside with Shangguan Fangyi for a night. Shangguan Fangyi had slapped her and was worried that she would really complain to the Shangguan family head, so he had no choice but to accompany her. Now, Shangguan Liuli was so sleepy that she was dozing off and was bullied by the instructor. She wanted to throw a tantrum and go back to complain to her father. But No matter how stupid Shangwan Liuli was, she was still very clear about the internal strife in her family. Her profound heart jade and talent were the reasons why she had been doted on since she was young. After entering the Heavenly Academy, her status in the Shangwan family would rise by a few levels. Now, he's being chased back to the Shangwan family by the instructor? Then her many years of hard work would all be wasted. They would also become the laughing stock of the Shangwan family. Staying in the Heavenly Academy, with Third Brother's help, it would only be a matter of minutes to take revenge. Instructor Ho sneered when he saw her lowering her head obediently. His gaze swept across the freshman and said in a cold tone, "The Heavenly Academy is not short of students with outstanding qualifications, nor students with great power and influence. Don't even think of using the same tricks you used outside in the academy." The reason why the Heavenly Academy is hailed as the best academy is because of the Heavenly Academy's strength. The freshman nodded in agreement. With an example of killing the chicken to warn the monkeys, these freshmen who were originally suppressed by Instructor Ho's imposing manner and did not dare to speak, even their breathing became more cautious. Well, what should be said has been said by Instructor Ho. Although the words are not pleasant to hear, but every sentence is from the bottom of his heart. If the freshmen want to study in the Heavenly Academy for a long time, then remember what Instructor Ho said. Instructor Chu's mouth hooked up into a faint smile. His cold and stiff face became slightly gentle. Chapter 174. The purpose of your coming to the Heavenly Academy, is it to show off to others that you're able to get into the Heavenly Academy, or is it to become stronger, to win glory for your family, for the mainland? This question was extremely incisive. It could be said that more than 70% of the freshmen present were trying their best to get into the Heavenly Academy because of its reputation. To be able to enter the Heavenly Academy, even if it was in the low class, was a symbol of status. In the future, when you walk outside the academy and show off your identity as a student of the Heavenly Academy, you would be admired by everyone. This was the power of the Heavenly Academy's reputation. Just like how everyone's expression changed when they heard the words Overlord, it was the same logic. Therefore, when Instructor Chu asked the question, none of the freshmen answered. Yiqing Luo didn't speak either. She still understood the principle of shooting the bird that sticks out. Before she had enough strength, it was better to keep a low profile. On the day of the ability assessment, she had already been in the limelight with D.M.O. Xian's escort. As the saying goes, there's always someone better than you out there. Her high profile would only invite some unnecessary trouble. I think you already have the answer in your heart. Instructor Chu said indifferently after a long silence. He crossed his arms in front of his chest, and his lips curled up into a mocking smile. Whether it's to show off to others, or to raise my profound rank, or to make myself stronger, there's only one starting point, is to learn. If you come to the Heavenly Academy and learn nothing, will others laugh at you for being mediocre, or will they laugh at the Heavenly Academy for not knowing how to teach? Sounds of people sucking in cold breaths could be heard in the square. Instructor Chu's words woke everyone up from their dreams. Yiqing Luo's lips raised slightly. She was very interested in the teaching methods of these two instructors. These two were definitely brothers who had been partners for many years. One was cold and domineering, the other convinced with reason. With such a combination, there were very few freshmen who could escape from their control. These students only thought that once they were admitted into the Heavenly Academy, it would represent infinite glory and a symbol of status. But they had never thought that after entering the Heavenly Academy, if they stagnated and were unable to advance to the profound grade. In the eyes of the world, it would never be said that the Heavenly Academy with the best school did not know how to teach. It would only say, in the Heavenly Academy, which was full of talents, their aptitude seemed extremely mediocre. It was such a good starting point for them to speed up their growth, but there were no results. It was simply a waste. At that time, all the brilliance would turn into a shadow and cover all the light. Do you want to become stronger? The freshmen were still in a state of shock when they suddenly heard Instructor Chu's explosive roar and were shocked. Yes, he replied in a scattered manner. Louder, yes. Louder, yes. Do you want to let the light of being admitted into the heavenly academy shine brighter? Yes. Good. Now, run 5 laps around the square. All right. After hundreds of people answered in unison, they finally realized what was going on. 5 laps? Are you kidding me? The plaza was so huge that one could not see the end of it at a glance. Even if they were on the inside, circling 1 round would be fatal, not to mention 5 rounds. First row, start running. Second row, follow up. Instructor Chu did not seem to notice the resentment in the freshman's eyes and directly shouted out the slogan. 5 laps is a bit too much, instructor. Can you just run 1 lap? Just 1 lap. This early in the morning, after running 1 lap, I won't have the energy to do anything for the rest of the day. Instructor, you must be joking with us, right? Chapter 175. Just as the crowd were whining and complaining incessantly, Yiqing Luo had already taken the lead and started running. She estimated that running 1 round in the inner line of the square was about 2 kilometers and 5 rounds would be 10 kilometers. For ordinary people, no one could run all the way. But these things, in her previous life, when Yiqing Luo was trained as the head of the hidden family, not to mention 10 kilometers, even if it was 20 kilometers, she had to run nonstop. This could train a person's physical strength, endurance, and mental power. A lot of training was based on running. Hundreds of freshmen saw Yiqing Luo spontaneously running, and all of their faces turned ugly. If the students collectively protested, the instructors might reduce the number of laps because no one listened to the command. They didn't expect Yiqing Luo to take the initiative to run. Then, Lu Xiaoyu also followed. The 2 instructors' sight fell on Yiqing Luo. They had been in the academy for such a long time and had always been the freshman instructors, so naturally they had a set of ability to judge people. From a moment Yiqing Luo stood among the freshmen, the 2 of them had already noticed this girl. From the beginning to the end, there was no hint of impatience on her face, or perhaps no expression. Unlike the other freshmen, although they didn't say anything, but there was some dissatisfaction towards the instructors on the surface. Looking at her proper running posture, uniform footsteps, and breathing, the admiration in the 2 instructors' eyes was even more obvious. Shangguan Luli saw all these, especially when she saw the instructors actually admired Yiqing Luo. A sense of imbalance surged in her heart. She clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. Wasn't it just running? Who didn't know how to do it? She had made the instructors unhappy earlier. Now she would pull the instructor's impression of her back. Shangguan Luli took a deep breath, and with a burst of strength, she quickly rushed over. In a short while, she had already reached the front of Yiqing Luo. When she overtook Yiqing Luo, she didn't forget to throw her a provocative look and immediately left Yiqing Luo far behind. Yiqing Luo, do you want to chase after her? Lu Xiaoyu followed beside Yiqing Luo, maintaining the same speed as her. Looking at Shangguan Li's arrogant look, she revealed a look of disdain. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Once you start running, you can't stop after 5 laps. Let her show off now. Later on, she will suffer. I suddenly feel like you're very black-bellied. Lu Xiaoyu rolled her eyes and instantly understood the meaning of Yiqing Luo's words. Then wouldn't I be in trouble? 5 laps. It would take my life. Run slowly. The instructor only said 5 laps and didn't set a time limit. Yiqing Luo glanced at Lu Xiaoyu. She believed that Lu Xiaoyu definitely had the ability to finish the 5 laps with her. Lu Xiaoyu's running posture was as standard as hers, and she adjusted her breathing very well. She also knew how to use profound qi to relieve the fatigue in her legs. Although it would be very difficult for them to complete 5 laps, they would definitely be able to complete it. That's right. Let's run first. When those people start running and we're done, we can watch them. Lu Xiaoyu nodded with a smile. Then, he reached out to touch his stomach. If I had known this would happen, I would have secretly brought some pastries and hid them in my clothes. If I had something to eat, I would definitely be more energetic now. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh. 1 ran away, 2 ran away, 3 ran away. Following that, several freshmen lined up one by one and started running. After running 1 lap, Shangwan Luli, who initially left Yiqing Luo half a lap behind, obviously couldn't hold on any longer. She ran with all her might, and towards the end, her legs were getting more and more tired. Even lifting up was extremely strenuous. But unfortunately, she couldn't stop. There were too many pairs of eyes staring at her. If she stopped now, others might ridicule her. Chapter 176. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change. Her face wasn't red, and she wasn't out of breath. He easily overtook Shangwan Lioli, who was already exhausted. When a gust of fragrant wind passed by, Shangwan Lioli panted heavily. Her face flushed and stared at Yiqing Luo. She couldn't swallow the anger in her heart and couldn't spit it out. It was suffocating in her chest. She wanted to speed up and overtake Yiqing Luo again to teach her a lesson. But Shangwan Lioli felt as if there was 1,000 catty boulder pressing on her legs. She couldn't lift it at all. In particular, Shangwan Lioli was still wearing the same dress when she came to the school yesterday, gorgeous and cumbersome. After running one round, she was drenched in sweat. Her messy hair stuck to her face and neck, and her dress was too heavy. Shangwan Lioli took a deep breath and gritted her teeth. Her unyielding spirit was aroused by Yiqing Luo. Shangwan Lioli clenched her fist and was about to take a step to chase after Yiqing Luo. But just as she tried to lift her foot, a force suddenly hit her from behind. Shangwan Lioli immediately saw stars and staggered and fell to the ground. Lu Xiaoyu's charming laughter came in her ears. "Oh, Shangwan student, I'm so sorry. I was too tired and didn't notice you stopped. Do you want me to help you up?" A slender white hand stretched out in front of her. "You obviously did it on purpose." Shangwan Lioli was furious. "Pa!" She shook off Lu Xiaoyu's hand. "You were in cahoots with her. You were in cahoots to bully me." I really didn't mean it." Lu Xiaoyu covered the back of her hand, which was red from the slap, and looked at the instructor with a wronged look. Instructor Ho's face was sullen. The iron rod in his hand stabbed the ground fiercely. "Continue to run. Who dares to stop before 5 laps are completed? Report to the low, profound class now." Lu Xiaoyu looked frightened. Her eyes were filled with grievance as she looked at Shangwan Lioli, bit her lips, and turned to chase after Yiqing Luo. Shangwan Lioli lay on the ground and cried out loud. Beside her, the freshmen ran past her one by one. Instructor Ho narrowed his eyes and shouted coldly, "That new student, if you don't want to run, then get out here. Don't block the other student's path." When the freshmen heard this, they could not help but burst into laughter. They were exhausted from all the running, and having a good show to watch could at least refresh their spirits. Run? Not running? Shangwan Lioli lay on the ground, feeling conflicted. She didn't have the strength to run, and she didn't have the means to get first place and win back the instructor's impression. If she didn't run, she would be assigned to the low, profound class at that time. Wouldn't those people at home who wanted to see her make a fool of herself be able to make a fuss about it? Before entering the Heavenly Academy, she had already vowed in front of her father that she would definitely enter the high, profound class together with her third brother. Thinking about how she would not be loved by her family in the future, Shangwan Lioli was filled with unwillingness. Biting her lower lip, she stood up and continued running. Yiqing Luo deliberately jogged slowly, waiting for Lu Xiaoyu to catch up with her. There was no trace of grievance on Lu Xiaoyu's face at this time. She snorted, "I can't stand people who are so arrogant without strength. You still want me to be careful? Aren't you afraid that she will bear a grudge against you for targeting her so openly? What am I afraid of? I, Lu Xiaoyu, am not afraid of anything other than having nothing to eat." Lu Xiaoyu proudly raised her head, revealing a smug smile. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up, her heart warmed. Chapter 177. By the second lap, quite a number of people had chosen to give up and fell to the ground, gasping for air. There were still more than 300 people persisting in the inner circle of the square. The 2 leaders in front were still expressionless. Those 300 students who were still persisting stared at Yiqing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu with bloodshot eyes. They were roaring in their hearts. Where did these 2 perverts come from? Couldn't they just happily be freshmen together? If it wasn't for the sweat on their faces and soaked clothes, everyone would have suspected that they were cheating. They were not even panting after running for so long. By the third lap, more than half of the students had left. There were more than 100 people left in the field. Lu Xiaoyu was also left behind. Her face was slightly flushed, and she was panting. Obviously, her physical strength could no longer support her to move forward at a constant speed. Don't worry about me. You run first. I will stop myself when I can't do it anymore. Lu Xiaoyu's breathing was extremely heavy. Her legs had already slowed down as she spoke. Yiqing Luo nodded slightly, quickly adjusted her breathing, and began to speed up. When everyone saw Yiqing Luo speeding up, they all felt like dying. Damn, she was definitely a pervert. Was she a horse in her past life? Lu Xiaoyu's eyes revealed a strange look as she stared at Yiqing Luo's back in a daze. Could it be that Yiqing Luo had not used her full strength? Was it to match her speed? The corners of Lu Xiaoyu's mouth curled up a little, and her bright eyes were also tinged with a smile. It seemed that this trip to the Heavenly Academy was not in vain. By the fourth lap, there were only 20 to 30 people left in the field. There were quite a number of people lying on the ground, half dead and unable to get up. The instructors did not have the slightest bit of pity. They called 2 old students from the low class and carried them down. Yiqing Luo did not care how many students were following behind her. She just constantly adjusted her breathing. Her face was not red, and she was not out of breath. It was just an illusion to others. In fact, by the fourth lap, Yiqing Luo's breathing had already become somewhat heavy. His legs also gradually became heavier, and he was no longer as nimble as before. However, there was no such word as give up in Yiqing Luo's dictionary. Since she had chosen to run, she would definitely finish the whole course. Yiqing Luo clenched her teeth and persevered as she continued forward. It was until the 5th round was completed when Yiqing Luo slowly came to a stop. The 2 instructors stood at the finish line. Their cold faces curled into an extremely shallow arc. Congratulations, you're great. This was the first person to complete 5 laps of the square since the start of the lesson. The students of low, intermediate, and high profound classes who were watching from the sidelines were all amazed. One had to know, these 2 instructors had never praised anyone since they became instructors. One by one, they craned their necks to see who this freshman who had run 5 laps and was praised by the 2 cold-faced instructors was. Yiqing Luo was neither arrogant nor rash as she gave a decent smile. Thank you for the instructor's recognition. After saying that, she nodded politely and walked to the side of the square. She began to stretch her limbs and sat down to stretch and relax her muscles. The instructor's eyes were filled with admiration. This girl had quite a lot of common sense. At this time, the 30 people in the field could not hold on any longer on the 4th lap. Some fainted, and some retreated in defeat. Sparsely, there were only 3 people left, still staggering as they ran. One of them was Lu Xiaoyu. She was already drenched in sweat. Her footsteps were heavy and her whole body was swaying. But she insisted on running. Chapter 178. These 3 people must be crazy. Do they really want to put their lives on the line? They don't want their lives, but we do. My overall score in the ability assessment is not bad. Even if I fail this run, I can at least get into the intermediate class. Even if I enter the high profound class, I still need to be alive. The freshmen who had fallen on the ground were all complaining. Humans were like this. Once they couldn't persevere, they would continue to say sour words, believing that their persistence was simply stupid. To put it bluntly, it was just an excuse for their cowardice. It was just to make him feel more at ease when he was a coward. Lu Xiaoyu's body was already on the verge of collapsing. She was at the front. Her legs were like lead weights, step by step forward. Fortunately, Yiqing Luo reminded them that they were dressed in black today. Even if they were sweating profusely, it wouldn't reveal the color of their inner clothes. But the other female students were miserable. She was drenched in sweat, and her thin muslin clothes clung to her curvaceous figure. Of course, everyone was tired at this time and didn't have the mood to care about these. Xiaoyu, come on, just a few more steps, and we'll be there. Yiqing Luo stopped her legs stretching action and jogged slowly towards the square. although she was still a little tired after stretching her muscles, but it wasn't as tiring as before after running 5 laps. She came to Lu Xiaoyu's side and smiled slightly. "If you successfully run 5 laps, I'll treat you to roast chicken in the cafeteria tonight." Perhaps it was the word roast chicken that made Lu Xiaoyu's eyes lit up. Or perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo ran to her side after running 5 laps and continued to accompany her for another half lap. Lu Xiaoyu's exhausted and sweaty face also showed a trace of determination. One cheered in her ear, the other ran with all her might. Finally, they reached the end of the 5th lap at the same time. Lu Xiaoyu couldn't even stand steadily. Yiqing Luo supported her to stand for about half an instant's time before she let go of Lu Xiaoyu and let her do the muscle-stretching action. The second freshman to successfully run 5 laps. This batch of freshmen was really eye-catching. The 2 instructors' hearts swelled up, and the students' hearts were boiling. Immediately after, thunderous applause resounded throughout the square. These 2 new students were absolutely worthy of this applause. Lying on the ground, Shangguan Liuli's eyes were filled with ruthless hatred as she stood among the freshmen who were unable to move. She was surrounded by a few of her good friends from outside the academy. They were all exhausted, but they still had to serve Shangguan Liuli. "Fifth Miss, don't be angry. These 2 people are not to be trifled with. I will never swallow this down." Shangguan Liuli's eyes were vicious, like a sharp knife, cutting Yiqing Luo. Why was it that Yiqing Luo could complete 5 laps, but she couldn't? If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo's provocation, forcing her to use all her strength first, she would definitely be able to run 5 laps. Now, the glory of these applause also belonged to her. The more he thought about it, the darker the darkness in his heart grew. My roast chicken. Roast chicken still counts. Lu Xiaoyu rested for a while and walked towards Yiqing Luo. As expected of a foodie, the first thing he asked was food. Yiqing Luo smiled. Of course, tonight please. I suddenly feel that all the hard work today is worth it." Lu Xiaoyu made a greedy look and licked her lips. Chapter 179. There was a silence in the square. Just a little bit more, and the 2 of them actually collapsed. If they woke up, wouldn't they be so angry that they vomited blood? Look, not only did they not complete the running task, they almost lost half their lives. This was the first time they saw and heard of running until they fainted. Luckily, we didn't insist on running. We have to fight with our lives. Just a little bit more. Fate makes fools of people. Fate makes fools of people. One by one, the freshmen shook their heads and sighed. Although there was a sense of pity in their words, it was obvious that they were gloating over their misfortune. Instructor Ho slowly walked to the position where the instructor stood. His face was cold, and his voice was cold and ruthless. "Return to the team." Those freshmen lying on the ground had not even caught their breath. Their legs were so heavy that they couldn't even stand straight. When they heard the instructor shout, one by one, they wailed and flopped on the ground, refusing to get up. "I'll give you a count of 10. Those freshmen who have not returned to the team, don't come back in the future." Instructor Ho directly raised a finger and said coldly, 1. The freshmen's face changed. They didn't dare to complain anymore, struggled to get up, and staggered back to the team. After counting to 10, everyone obediently stood back in the team. "Today's training ends here. I have seen your general strength. In the next month, I will customize the training method according to each of your strength." Instructor Ho put his hands behind his back and said majestically, "Today is just the beginning. There are more rigorous training waiting for you in the future." For a moment, the sound of the freshmen inhaling cold air came one after another. Today was already half their lives. Damn, there were more rigorous training. Wasn't it the rhythm of them dying on the training ground? Tomorrow at the same time, gather at the freshman training ground. Instructor Ho said faintly. His cold gaze swept past Yiqing Luo and paused for a moment. The students who passed today's training can report 2 hours later. Everyone looked at Yiqing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu with envious gazes. They were extremely resentful. Why didn't they insist on running the 5 laps? After Instructor Ho finished, he squinted at Instructor Chu. Instructor Chu understood and took a step forward, pointing to several directions in the crowd. He was referring to Yi Qing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu. Both of you passed the training. Lu Xiaoyu excitedly hugged Yi Qing Luo tightly as she cried out, "Finally, we can enjoy our breakfast to our heart's content." Also, the two freshmen who were just a few steps away from completing 5 laps have passed the training. Once these words were spoken, some of the new students were immediately unconvinced. Why are they considered to have passed? A few steps away means a few steps away. If you haven't finished 5 laps, you haven't finished. Right. No matter if it was a step or a few steps, it was still a difference. It doesn't count as passing the training. The two instructors slightly frowned and scolded in a low voice with a sullen face. Am I the instructor, or are you the instructor? If you have the strength, why are you still standing here, feeling indignant? Why don't you have the strength to continue running? Even if they missed by half a lap, they still passed. If you have the ability to impress us, you can also pass the training. Seeing that the instructor was enraged, the freshman didn't dare to speak anymore. However, his face was filled with indignation. Although he said it, his heart refused to accept it. The instructors' faces were cold. Just as they were about to dismiss the group and let the freshmen go back, they heard a clear voice ring out. Chapter 180. Humans have unlimited potential. As long as you are willing to work hard and persevere, you will be able to stimulate it. Hard work may not necessarily lead to success, but if you don't work hard, you will never succeed. Everyone's sight followed the voice and looked over. Yi Qing Luo was expressionless, her pink lips slightly pursed. Obviously, her eyes were cold and emotionless, but her whole body exuded a terrifying aura. That pair of charming eyes, the corners of her eyes hooked into a narrow arc, enchanting yet covered by a layer of snow and frost. The reason why those two students can pass the training is because of their persistence and their hard work, which moved the instructor. Yi Qing Luo's cold eyes swept through the crowd one by one, her lips hooked into a mocking smile. And all of you, other than being jealous of others and envious of others, have you ever persevered and worked hard to pass the training? His words caused the new students who were still clamoring to lower their heads in silence. Instructor Chu looked at Yi Qing Luo. This girl had aroused his interest. When she said these words, her attitude was neither servile nor overbearing, not deliberately showing off, and everything was said in an orderly manner. No wonder old man Gue you wanted to take her as his disciple the first time he saw this girl. He cleared his throat and gestured for everyone to focus on him again. Just as he was about to speak, a sharp and unwilling voice came from the crowd. Yi Qing Luo, on what basis do you say that we did not work hard? We are so tired from running that we can't even lift our legs, and some students were carried to the medical hall. Don't tell me these people did not work hard? Shangguan Liuli couldn't stand Yi Qing Luo showing off. In her eyes, Yi Qing Luo's action today was deliberately going against her, deliberately trying to destroy her prestige. Yi Qing Luo's lips twitched with a faint smile. How can you be sure that those people really fainted? You. Shangguan Liuli's face was livid, pointing at Yi Qing Luo. Her fingers were trembling. Enough. Do you think you are not tired enough? If you're not tired enough, run another 5 laps around the square. Instructor Ho furrowed his brows and scolded angrily. The freshman cried out in pain, tired to death. Since you know you're tired, why haven't you dismissed yet? The group of freshmen was startled for a moment before they cried out in joy and swarmed away. They were eager to return to their dormitories and have a good rest. Yi Qing Luo supported Lu Xiaoyu. Go rest first. I'll treat you to roast chicken tonight. The moment Lu Xiaoyu heard about roast duck, her beautiful eyes sparkled as she wrapped her arms around Yi Qing Luo's slender waist. No rest. Treat me to roast chicken now. As long as there's food, I'll be full of energy. Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly and pulled her to the canteen. Lu Xiaoyu really deserved to be a real foodie. When the roast chicken was placed in front of her, her whole body was full of vitality, and her eyes were only filled with food. After eating 2 roast chickens and a large plate of meat, Lu Xiaoyu burped in satisfaction. One meal cost Yi Qing Luo, 50 silver coins. After the meal, Lu Xiaoyu had eaten too much, so Yi Qing Luo accompanied her to walk one round around the courtyard and receive 2 sets of uniform before returning to the dormitory. As soon as he entered the dormitory, he heard a woman's laughter coming from inside, as if she was saying something. Yi Qing Luo pushed the door and entered. In the hall, around a mahogany square table, sat 5 gorgeously dressed women. As soon as they saw Yi Qing Luo, the 5 of them looked over in unison. Chapter 181. As soon as she said this, the other 4 covered their mouths and chuckled. That's right, we're not as lucky as 7th Misty. Another woman also spoke in a sarcastic tone. Shangguan Liuli reclined on a soft chair, no longer in a sorry state like she was in the square. 7th Misty, if you have any trick to not be tired after running 5 laps, why don't you teach us? Yi Qing Luo could hear the sarcasm from each of them. These people were probably suspecting that she and Lu Xiaoyu had cheated to be able to run 5 laps. What do you mean? You? Lu Xiaoyu frowned, rolled up her sleeves, pointed at the 5 women, and scolded. Weren't you all shouting in the square that you couldn't run anymore and were exhausted? How do you still have the energy to gossip here? The 5 women's faces changed, slammed the table, and were about to get up to fight with Lu Xiaoyu. Yi Qing Luo took Lu Xiaoyu's arm and walked into the room. The 5 women looked at each other and revealed a mocking smile. When Yi Qing Luo walked into the room with Lu Xiaoyu and saw everything in the room, a trace of hostility flashed across her eyes. The thin quilt she laid yesterday had been replaced by a set of colorful quilts. The clean and tidy table was also filled with pearl flowers and rouge powder. There was even a rack set up at the side on which there were many gorgeous dresses that were decorated with beautiful flowers. Obviously, her room had been occupied by others. Lu Xiaoyu's face sank and turned to Shangguan Liuli angrily. Don't go too far. I'm going too far, what can you do? Hit me if you have the ability. Shangguan Liuli stood up proudly and crossed her arms over her chest. This room, I want it. Shangguan Liuli was smart this time, taking advantage of the school's rules that students were not allowed to fight in private. No matter how angry Yi Qing Luo was, she would never dare to hit her. Go check your room. Yi Qing Luo pulled the angry Lu Xiaoyu back. Only then did Lu Xiaoyu react and rushed to her room. Sure enough, the things in her room were also replaced by Shangguan Liuli's things. Yi Qing Luo saw Lu Xiaoyu's flushed face and glanced around the main hall. Her and Lu Xiaoyu's luggage were piled up in the corner behind the wooden cabinet. The square wooden box that Lu Xiaoyu had carefully kept with pastries had fallen to the ground. The lid had long disappeared, and a few pieces of pastries were scattered on the ground. Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as a chilly ray shot out. She didn't want to waste time with Shangguan Liuli. But that did not mean that she would tolerate Shangguan Liuli's repeated provocations. Her room and Lu Xiaoyu's room were probably made by these 5 people. Return our things back. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a cold smile. Her voice was extremely calm. Put it back. Dream on. Shangguan Liuli slammed the table and stood up with her hands akimbo. Let me tell you, I will take whichever room I want. Don't think that you can do whatever you want in the Heavenly Academy just because you have the instructor's liking. Very good. Yi Qing Luo laughed softly. Her laughter was extremely soft, but it was filled with an invisible pressure. She spread out her 5 fingers, and a red fan appeared between her fingers. One of the ladies saw that red fan, and her face suddenly turned pale. That's the glower flame fan. It's her weapon. Yes, I've seen it during the ability assessment. This fan is very strange. Shangguan Liuli heard this, and the arrogance on her face could no longer be maintained. Chapter 182. Really? Yi Qing Luo smiled faintly. Her brows raised slightly. Her sweet but not coquettish face added a hint of coldness. That pair of charming eyes was suffused with a trace of bloodthirsty, murderous intent. Shangguan Liuli, even outside the academy, you, the 5th Miss Shangguan, are nothing in front of me. Yi Qing Luo took a straight step forward as the corners of her lips maintained a sly smile, which didn't look like a smile. Shangguan Lu Li tensed up. She had suffered a loss in Yi Qing Luo's hands previously. She immediately stood up and stood behind the other four women. The four women were also frightened by Yi Qing Luo's aura as they stood rooted to the ground, staring at her in a daze. It was until Yi Qing Luo approached that they let out a scream and dispersed. Shangguan Lu Li, didn't you say that this young matriarch doesn't dare to make a move? Why should I hide? Yi Qing Luo sneered. Shangguan Lu Li's breathing gradually quickened as her chest heaved up and down. She was used to being pampered and had always been condescending. In Yi Qing Luo's hands, she had suffered a setback time and time again. She absolutely could not swallow this down. Now, she had four helpers. There was no need to be afraid of Yi Qing Luo, who would know that they had made a move on Yi Qing Luo after walking out of this dormitory. Shangguan Lu Li thought in this way as she glanced at the few women scattered by the side. These women often conspired with Shangguan Lu Li outside the academy and did a lot of evil things, but to them, it was just a prank. One look, and they immediately understood Shangguan Lu Li's meaning. The four women calmed down. There were 5 of them, and Shangguan Lu Li was a mystic, profound cultivator. Yi Qing Luo was only one person, plus Lu Xiaoyu, who looked like a waste. Afraid that they couldn't win? Yi Qing Luo, what are you so arrogant for? Do you really think that you are the young matriarch of Three Springs sect? Your reputation in the West Continent is a waste. Shangguan Lu Li's eyes were sinister. Profound qi condensed in her palm and suddenly pressed towards Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes. A burning feeling suddenly arose in her heart. Shangguan Lu Li's chest was surrounded by a red glow. A scarlet-black star pattern appeared beneath her feet, and 5 stars floated out. Mystic Profound Grade 5. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as her lips curled into a smirk of ridicule. Scarlet Hard Jade. Mystic Profound 5th Grade. No wonder Shangguan Lu Li was at the Mystic Profound rank 5, but her strength was so weak. Her Jade Heart's level was too low. It was impossible to completely release the power of the Mystic Profound Grade 5. Presumably, Shangguan Lu Li's profound rank was rushed up with elixirs. As for Shangguan Lu Li and the other 3 sisters, they only felt a powerful force enveloping them. An envious look appeared on his face, and he boldly stood on Shangguan Lu Li's side. Seeing Shangguan Lu Li's palm striking towards her, Yi Qing Luo's expression didn't change at all. Just as the palm wind was nearing her face, Yi Qing Luo suddenly stretched out her hand. Pa! A loud slap resounded through the entire dormitory. He saw Yi Qing Luo grabbing Shangguan Lu Li's hand with one hand, while the other hand directly flung onto Shangguan Lu Li's face. Yi Qing Luo had used quite a bit of strength in this slap. Shangguan Lu Li's delicate little face was imprinted with a clear 5 fingerprint. I don't have the leisure to waste time with you. Either you tuck your tail between your legs when you see me next time, or I will hit you every time I see you. Chapter 183. The few ladies froze on the spot and retracted their hands that were about to strike back stiffly. They were unable to calm down the turbulent waves in their hearts. What on earth was going on? Why was Yi Qing Luo able to avoid Shangguan Lu Li's palm strike? Why was she able to grab Shangguan Lu Li's hand so accurately? And that slap, how on earth did it land on Shangguan Lu Li's face? According to the investigation, wasn't Yi Qing Luo a yellow profound 9th grade cultivator? How could she be so powerful? Go, go. There are 5 of us. Are we afraid that we can't beat her? Shangguan Lu Li spat out blood from the fall. She wiped the blood stains on her lips and stood up, shouting sternly, "Whoever can hurt her, after we leave the academy, I will reward you with 10 gold coins." 10 gold coins. The 4 ladies' eyes lit up with excitement. As the saying goes, money makes the world go round. Although these ladies were rich young ladies, but 10 gold coins, it would take several years of salary to save up. Upon hearing this, the 4 of them looked at each other and rushed towards Yi Qing Luo at the same time. Qing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu frowned and was about to rush up and join in the battle. You watch from aside. Yiqing Luo glanced at Lu Xiaoyu and curled her lips. Immediately, she leaped into the midst of the four. These four ladies were able to enter the Heavenly Academy, so they had some ability. Their reaction and adaptability were not bad. When they attacked from the left and right, Yiqing Luo suddenly squatted down. The feather fan in her hand flew and knocked on their elbows. A few cries of pain came from their mouths. Yiqing Luo stuck close to them closely as her arm lifted up slightly and mercilessly slammed against their elbows. Ah! The four ladies' faces turned pale in pain, and cold sweat oozed out of their foreheads. One by one, they shrank back and couldn't even lift their hands. How would they dare to continue fighting with Yiqing Luo? You dare to hit us in the academy. I will tell the instructor. Shangwan Liuli trembled in fear. Yiqing Luo curled her lips and turned to look at Lu Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu, did I hit anyone? Lu Xiaoyu shook her head cooperatively and blinked innocently with a wronged look. Did Qing Luo hit anyone? Why didn't I see it? Isn't it because 5th Miss Shangwan is jealous that we passed the training, so she occupies 3 rooms and wants to drive us out of the dormitory? Yiqing Luo nodded her head with a smile as her vision turned towards the 4 young ladies. Did I hit you? The 4 women opened their mouths, but no words came out. Shangwan Liuli was so infuriated that her face flushed red as she clutched her chest with one hand and pointed at Yiqing Luo with the other. Don't you dare to deny it. The wounds on our bodies are the best proof. Weren't those injuries caused by you sisters accidentally sparring with one another? The smile on Yiqing Luo's face became increasingly sweet and harmless. What's more, the one who used profound qi to attack me was you. 5th Miss Shangwan. Shangwan Liuli didn't understand what he meant, but the women around her were all smart people, and they immediately understood. The reason why Yiqing Luo had not released any profound qi from the start till the end. Their profound ranks were all recorded on the wooden tablet. The wooden token could also sense the fluctuation of the Xian qi they used. If this matter were to be reported to the instructor, the wooden sign would show that it was indeed them who did it. Damn it! Yiqing Luo was simply too black-bellied. She made them suffer, and they had to swallow it down. Huh? Don't tell me. You think what I said is wrong? Yiqing Luo smiled again, but her eyes became especially cold and severe. Chapter 184. You all. Shangwan Liuli's face was gloomy. She had not expected these sisters who were like biological sisters to actually side with Yiqing Luo at this moment. A wise man submits to circumstances. If 5th Miss Shangwan wants to tell the instructor about today's matter, I will naturally not haggle with you all if you all tell the instructor what you have seen. Yiqing Luo's lips curled slightly. Her charming eyes were filled with a devilish glint, covered with a layer of chilliness. Those few ladies hurriedly nodded their heads. They had never used their true feelings towards Shangwan Liuli. They had been fawning on her because of her identity. They had no intention to put themselves in danger because of Shangwan Liuli. Every man for himself will be destroyed by heaven and earth. What's more, Shangwan Liuli had tricked them to offend Yiqing Luo, but she had never mentioned that although Yiqing Luo was in the yellow profound 9th grade, but her ability was so powerful. And in the end, when Shangwan Liuli asked them to go up, she hid behind them. Seeing the 4 ladies being so obedient, Yiqing Luo nodded her head in satisfaction. Now, put my things and Xiao Yu's things back in the room properly. Put them back in the same place as they were before. Shangwan Liuli was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. This hurried breathing made her chest that was thrown out by Yiqing Luo even more painful. The cold sweat on her forehead rolled down one by one as she fell onto the ground powerlessly. But those 4 ladies didn't even bother to look at Shangwan Liuli. One by one, they obediently picked up the things which were originally piled up in the corner, preparing to humiliate Yiqing Luo. These rich young ladies had never done any hard work at home. To make them tidy up the room, it was like a war. Shangwan Liuli's things were thrown out one by one, whereas Yiqing Luo led Lu Xiaoyu to sit leisurely on the chair, chatting. Aren't you afraid that these people will really complain to the instructor? Lu Xiaoyu was curious how Yi Qing Luo could be so confident. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled. Without evidence, they wouldn't dare, otherwise they would be seeking their own death. She pursued the principle of keeping a low profile, but it didn't mean that she would allow herself to be trampled on. She had only been in the academy for 2 days, but Shangwan Liuli had been looking for trouble with her. If she didn't intimidate Shangwan Liuli and the others now, she would have a hard time in the future. It would be better to solve it now. At least for a period of time in the future, she would be able to enjoy peace. Today was really satisfying. I passed the training, got the limelight, and even ate 2 big roast chickens. Now that I've seen such a good show, I have no regrets in life. Lu Xiaoyu hooked her arms around Yi Qing Luo's neck and smiled with her eyes curved. Yi Qing Luo stroked her head and glanced sideways at Shangwan Liuli, who was half kneeling on the ground with a face full of hatred, as a cold smile surfaced in her eyes. Life was the same. One had to be clear about who to be a good person in front of and who to be a bad person in front of. Approximately half an hour later, the 4 ladies had rearranged Yi Qing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu's room neatly. Some of the things that they had broken before, they did not hesitate to go to their dormitory and replace them with their own things. Both of their rooms had been tidied up cleanly. On the contrary, the whole hall was in a mess, and Shangwan Liuli's things were piled up everywhere. After the few of them tidied themselves up, they wiped off the sweat on their foreheads and stood in front of Yi Qing Luo. Chapter 185. The 4 ladies nodded their heads obediently. After getting Yi Qing Luo's permission, they left the dormitory one by one. No one was willing to stay here for a while longer. Looking at these people, from the initial arrogant sneer to the current servility, Yi Qing Luo sighed deeply in her heart. This was indeed a strange world where the strong were respected. If the one standing here today was another person, there was a high possibility that he would be tamed by Shangwan Liuli. But now, the ones who ran away with their tails between their legs were Shangwan Liuli and the rest, because she was strong enough to contend against Shangwan Liuli and the rest. The bigger the fist was the hard truth. She had to become stronger in order to survive in this strange world for a longer period of time. Qing Luo, then what about her? Lu Xiaoyu pointed at Shangwan Liuli, who was still kneeling on the ground. Let her. Yi Qing Luo glanced at her indifferently and shifted her gaze away. You must be exhausted today. Go back to your room and rest. I will call you at night. Lu Xiaoyu didn't reject. After running 5 rounds, even if she ate the roast chicken and was fully rejuvenated, the physical fatigue was still there. After the both of them returned to their room, Shangwan Liuli, who was sitting stiffly on the ground, blinked her eyes. After some time, she regained her senses. The whole room was in a mess, piled up with her things. Shangwan Liuli's breathing became hurried again. Covering her chest, there was a burst of pain, followed by a wave. She twisted her head, looking at Yi Qing Luo's tightly shut door. As she looked, her hands clenched into fists, blue veins popped out. Her eyes were fierce and filled with murderous intent. Absolutely. Would not let Yi Qing Luo off so easily. Absolutely not. Perhaps it was the physical fatigue, or perhaps it was in her sleep. She always felt a faintly discernible sandalwood scent lingering around her nose. Yi Qing Luo's sleep was incomparably sweet. The moment she slept, it was already 7 p.m. It was Chi-Chi who used its tail to rub against Yi Qing Luo's face, scratching her awake. Yi Qing Luo opened her eyes, meeting with Chi-Chi's pair of pitch-black tiger eyes. She was slightly stunned and suddenly remembered the smell she smelled in her dream. She quickly carried Chi-Chi and sat up straight. He looked around but didn't see the person he was thinking of. He took a deep sniff of the air, but the elegant sandalwood scent was nowhere to be found. There was no sign of him. She remembered that in her dream, there seemed to be a pair of warm palms gently covering her face. His slender fingers brushed aside the bangs on her forehead. His warm lips pressed against her forehead. Yi Qing Luo could even remember clearly that when he kissed her, the scent that seeped into her nose and the warmth of his chest. But was all of this really just a dream? Yiqing Luo's eyelids drooped down slightly as her hand subconsciously caressed Chi-Chi's forehead. If she were to look at the copper mirror, she would discover that her current expression showed how disappointed she was. Qing Luo, I'm coming in. Outside the door, a rhythmic knocking sound was heard, followed by Lu Xiaoyu's clear and bright voice. Yiqing Luo's body shook violently as she quivered and regained her consciousness. She covered her cheeks with her hands, which were burning hot. She bit her pink lips tightly. She was extremely unfamiliar with her own reaction and felt ashamed. She actually dreamt of DMO Xian. After waking up, she still wanted to see him? She must be crazy. It must be DMO Xian who had cast a curse on the profound jade heart in her body. Yiqing Luo patted her face, trying hard to lower her temperature. Chapter 186. This girl was really stubborn when it came to food. Yiqing Luo smiled helplessly. All right, I'll be right there. Why is your face so red? Are you sick? Lu Xiaoyu's sharp eyes saw Yiqing Luo's red cheeks and immediately strode into the room. She stretched out her hand to grab Yiqing Luo's wrist in an attempt to feel her pulse. Yiqing Luo had already pulled her hand away and patted it lightly. I just woke up. It's just a little warm. Let me freshen up. Oh, Lu Xiaoyu did not suspect anything. She stood at the side and teased Chi-Chi. After Yiqing Luo finished grooming, the temperature on her face had also dropped. The two of them walked out of the room together. The hall was still a mess. Shangguan Liuli's things were scattered all over the floor, and Mo Ingyu, who had disappeared all this time, was sitting on a soft chair, shaking her legs. Hearing the sound of the door, Mo Ingyu turned her head. Under the slightly curled long hair, that pair of empty and soulless eyes locked onto Yiqing Luo. You must be my new roommate. My name is Lu Xiaoyu. Please take care of me in the future. It was Lu Xiaoyu's first time meeting Mo Ingyu. Mo Ingyu's Lolita attire made his face flush with cuteness. She walked up excitedly and extended her hand to Mo Ingyu. But Mo Ingyu's line of sight didn't move as she quietly stared at Yiqing Luo. She tilted her head and said word by word, "You are in trouble." Yiqing Luo raised her brows. What do you mean? Mo Ingyu turned her head, raised her hand, and pointed outside the dormitory. See for yourself. I'll go. Lu Xiaoyu withdrew her hand awkwardly because of Mo Ingyu's disregard. As soon as she heard the topic, she volunteered in order to ease the tense atmosphere. Lu Xiaoyu opened the door to the dormitory and wanted to see if there was a group of people waiting to take revenge for Shangguan Liuli. But just as he opened the door, a white piece of rice paper floated down. She caught the piece of paper, and her eyes were fixed on the Xian paper. Her brows immediately furrowed. What the hell is the faculty council? On what basis should I issue a challenge to Qing Luo? Letter of challenge? Interesting. She had just entered the academy and already received a letter of challenge. She really couldn't keep a low profile, even if she wanted to. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows and took the Xian paper from Lu Xiaoyu's hands with interest. The words were written in flamboyant calligraphy. The general meaning of these few hundred words was, as a new student, Yiqing Luo was always in the limelight and her behavior was too unreasonable. Therefore, the faculty council decided to observe Yiqing Luo for half a month. The faculty council would immediately expel Yiqing Luo out of the Heavenly Academy if they were to find any excessive behavior. The faculty council is equivalent to the academy's second-in-command, a clubhouse established by the students. All of the students' questions are first submitted to the faculty council, and then the president of the faculty council will report to the teacher or the dean. Mo Ingyu's voice was flat, sweet, and emotionless. When Yiqing Luo heard that, her heart understood. The faculty council here was probably the student council of her time. After reading this letter of challenge, Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. What was wrong with this world? She had passed the training, but became the limelight, and this was unreasonable? Could it be that all the new students had to give up the training midway, and this was considered as obedient? and to carry out half a month of observation. Damn it, was the faculty council sick? Chapter 187. Yu tilted her head and said in a serious tone, "So, you are in trouble. Harassment?" Yi-Ching Luo curled her lips disapprovingly. "If the faculty council wants to harass me, just send someone over." She wanted to see if this so-called faculty council really thought of themselves as the overlord of the students in the academy. "Don't look down on the faculty council." Yu's lips twitched slightly, revealing a strange smile. "The president of the faculty council is a student of the class of gods. No matter how capable you are, you can't do anything to the students of the class of gods." That little girl stood up slowly. The bell on her wrist made a melodious sound. "The faculty council is targeting you. Perhaps it is the intention of the Shangwan family, or perhaps it is because your existence threatens their position." She walked towards her room. Her pace was steady and her voice indifferent. "Being targeted by the faculty council. I'm afraid your days are not going to be easy." With that, the door to the room closed, and the beautiful pink figure disappeared before their eyes. Lu Xiaoyu held Yi-Ching Luo's arm, her eyes filled with worry. "Class of gods. Ching Luo, what should we do? The people from the class of gods are not as easy to deal with as Shangwan Luli." Just as Yu said, the faculty council was targeting Yi-Ching Luo. It was inevitable that other students would stay away from her. Moreover, those who were unhappy with Yi-Ching Luo would also take the opportunity to attack her. It could be said that the faculty council's public announcement to Yi-Ching Luo could totally destroy a freshman. Yi-Ching Luo chuckled. She was indeed a freshman, but she was Yi-Ching Luo. Yi-Ching Luo would not be destroyed so easily. The faculty council is not the supreme existence. Above them, there's still the teachers' group and the director. As long as I'm still a student, they will not dare to do anything to me. The faculty council could use various means to force her to leave the Heavenly Academy. Unless the faculty council had the absolute ability to make her disappear from the Heavenly Academy silently. Otherwise, as long as she was still in the school, they would not dare to do anything. But the secret means of the faculty council, absolutely. Lu Xiaoyu pursed her lips. Her hand couldn't help but hold Yi-Ching Luo's arm tightly. Seeing her frightened look, Yi-Ching Luo curled her lips and touched her head. "If anything happens to me, Master Gue, you will not stand by idly." Lu Xiaoyu was startled, and a smile finally appeared on her face. "That's right, how could I forget? Yi-Ching Luo was someone whom Master Gue you had specially picked to protect. Moreover, it was said that Yi-Ching Luo was the disciple of the Overlord and had a close relationship with the Overlord." Seeing Lu Xiaoyu smile, Yi-Ching Luo rubbed her head and walked out of the dormitory. "Let's go eat something first." Lu Xiaoyu didn't notice that when Yi-Ching Luo shifted her line of sight, her slender brows creased slightly and her charming eyes squinted slightly, revealing traces of biting cold intent. "Let's go out and have a look. Let's see, what is this so-called faculty council?" Both of them had just woken up and were taking a stroll around the academy garden. Along the way, all of the students, regardless of whether they were freshmen or seniors, looked shocked when they saw her. They pointed at her and said something to the people around them. Momentarily, Yi-Ching Luo's low-profile life had once again attracted the attention of others. Basically, the entire academy had heard of her name. It was destined that she would not be able to keep a low profile. Those students, one by one, began to discuss about what they had heard about Yi-Ching Luo. It could be said that everyone was no stranger to this name. Chapter 188. This new student who had just transferred here was the once infamous 7th young mistress. As for why this waste 7th Missy could cultivate and become so powerful, everyone attributed it to the Overlord. Because, with the Overlord, any miracles were a matter of course. After the profound heart jade was restored, this freshman tried to kill her 4th sister during the ability assessment, exposing her using the Dark Forces item. Then, with Old Man Gue Yu's escort and the Overlord's personal appearance to express his support, it was a tacit acknowledgement of their master-disciple relationship. Following that, on the first day of school, She formed an enmity with one of the four great families, the Shangwan family. After that, she was targeted by the faculty council. In the entire school, who didn't know of Yi Qing Luo's name? Qing Luo, don't you feel that their eyes are very disgusting? Lu Xiaoyu held Yi Qing Luo's arm tightly. Her face was extremely ugly. She always felt like an animal being surrounded by people. The two of them had just walked out of the garden and were about to head to the canteen when a group of people walked towards them. The two of them were led by two decent-looking beauties, dressed in green and white uniforms. The two of them stretched out their hands and were clustered around 7 to 8 male students. From the badge on their chest, it could be seen that these 7 to 8 people were students from the High Profound class. The High Profound class was the legendary place of the Heavenly Academy. All the students were trying their best to enter the High Profound class. Therefore, when the 7 to 8 students from the High Profound class appeared together, the entire garden was boiling. Everyone looked at them with admiration, just short of rushing up and begging for a handshake and signature. Yi Qing Luo, one of the beauties, smiled slightly. "Can you come with us? We have something to discuss with you." Yi Qing Luo raised her brows slightly, sizing up the group of people in front of her with interest. She was very clear that if she didn't go, these few people would use forceful means to force her to go over. To be able to mobilize the students from the High Profound class to personally invite her, other than the faculty council, no one else had this ability. Yi Qing Luo snorted lightly, revealing a hint of ridicule between her brows. The faculty council really gave her face. "You all, why are you looking for Qing Luo? She is a student of the academy. You have no right to bring her anywhere." Lu Xiaoyu saw that the situation was not right and immediately stood in front of Yi Qing Luo. "Junior, don't be afraid. I just heard that one of the freshmen ran 5 laps and even got the approval of the 2 cold-faced instructors, Instructor Chu and Instructor He. I want to talk to her." The beauty smiled elegantly, but her smile did not reach her eyes. The other beauty casually stepped forward, so casually that Lu Xiaoyu didn't even have the slightest reaction before she was pushed away by the 2 beauties. The beauties stood on the left and right, sandwiching Yi Qing Luo in the middle. You guys are bullying a freshman. I'm going to tell the instructor." Lu Xiaoyu was pushed away and struggled to rush forward. "Xiaoyu, it's fine." Yi Qing Luo raised her eyes and looked at Lu Xiaoyu as she shook her head. "Go to the cafeteria to have your meal first. I'll chat with the senior sisters and come over in a while." These 2 beauties did not come with good intentions. The High Profound class was indeed the High Profound class. Just by standing beside her, Yi Qing Luo could feel a wave of pressure. Lu Xiaoyu was obviously frightened by such a scene. She could not drag Lu Xiaoyu into this. "Qing Luo, they're obviously... You don't have to worry about it." Yi Qing Luo smiled. Chapter 189. Lu Xiaoyu stamped her feet anxiously. Her face was full of anxiety. She twisted her fingers, watching Yi Qing Luo and the others gradually getting further and further away. She clenched her fist and turned to run in the other direction. Yi Qing Luo was sandwiched in the middle. The 2 beauties seemed to be intimate, but in fact, both of their palms were stuck on Yi Qing Luo's back. It seemed that as long as she had the slightest resistance, they would mercilessly strike her with their palms. The group of people didn't know how long, stopped in a luxurious courtyard. To be able to build a personal independent courtyard in the academy, this place was definitely not an ordinary place. Sure enough, Yi Qing Luo saw a few big words written in flamboyant calligraphy, Faculty Council. Yi Qing Luo sneered. Her guess was right. These people were from the Faculty Council. The 7 High Profound class male students who followed behind stopped at the entrance of the Faculty Council. After the 2 beauties brought Yi Qing Luo into the Faculty Council, there were occasionally a few people from the Faculty Council passing by. When everyone saw these 2 beauties, they respectfully greeted, "Vice President, 4th Miss Lu." It could be seen how high the status of these 2 beauties in the Faculty Council. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly. Should she feel proud, the dignified vice president personally went to pick her up? The 2 beauties led Yi Qing Luo and walked around the Faculty Council several times. probably to make Yi-Ching Luo confused and unable to remember the way. However, they did not expect that Yi-Ching Luo had the ability to remember everything she saw. Suddenly, the vice president stopped in her tracks and looked coldly at somewhere behind her. Someone is following us. Fourth Miss Lu's expression changed. She didn't expect someone to follow them for so long without a sound. Second sister, can you sense who it is? The vice president's face sank. Her 5 fingers suddenly pinched Yi-Ching Luo's face. Sure is not an ordinary waist. There is such a powerful guard beside you. Guard? Yi-Ching Luo suddenly understood. It was probably Wind who was arranged by D.M.O. Xian to protect her. She re-evaluated the vice president's strength in her heart. Her perceptive ability had exceeded the average person by many times, but she still couldn't sense the existence of Wind. This vice president actually discovered Wind's existence. Avoid it. The vice president quickly made a judgment, lifted Yi-Ching Luo up by the waist, and slammed her against the wall. As for fourth young Miss Lu, she leaped up and flew in the direction indicated by the vice president. Yi-Ching Luo originally thought that she would be treated as a meat patty and knocked against the wall. However, the moment her body touched the wall, she was sucked in by a suction force. There was a secret passage in the wall. Yi-Ching Luo was carried and swayed all the way, until a ray of light appeared in front of her. Yi-Ching Luo squinted her eyes. Inside the secret passage, there were actually 7 or 8 vertical secret passages. Every secret passage was guarded by guards dressed in black. The vice president took the middle corridor. After walking for a while, he arrived at a room at the end. Just as she pushed the door open, Yi-Ching Luo saw Shangwan Liuli sitting by the side, beaming with delight. President, I've already invited student Yi over. The vice president put down Yi-Ching Luo, and his voice turned gentle. The room was very simple. There were 2 bookshelves, a wooden table, and a few wooden chairs. And in front of the wooden table, the person who was reading the official documents raised his head slightly when he heard the voice. That was an extremely delicate and elegant young man. He was dressed in a green and white uniform, with a green belt tied around his waist. His hair was fixed by a jade crown inlaid with jade beads. That pair of eyes seemed to be plated with a layer of moisture, as if it could immerse people in his gentleness, unable to extricate themselves. Chapter 190. You're a student, Yi-Ching Luo? The man put down the brush in his hand and spoke calmly. His voice, like his appearance, was as gentle as water. He was such an elegant and handsome man. Even his smile was like a spring breeze, which made one's heart feel as if it was lingering in spring water. But Yi-Ching Luo's cells, at this moment, tensed up. This man was definitely not what he looked like on the surface. His body exuded an extremely strong, evil aura. It was a vicious aura that could not be concealed no matter how he put on a gentle mask. Yi-Ching Luo frowned. Her heart raised some vigilance. What do you want to talk about? The man slightly hooked his lips, smiling elegantly. Student, you don't be nervous. Relax. Today, I invited you to the faculty council. There is no malicious intention. Just received a report from student Shangwan, so I specially look for student Yi to verify the situation. Invitation? The moment he came up, one on the left and one on the right. This was called an invitation? Yi-Ching Luo snorted coldly, glancing at Shangwan Luli. She secretly thought, how did Shangwan Luli get involved with the faculty council? Her vision turned and saw Shangwan Fong Yi standing in the corner, with a somewhat complacent smile on his lips. She immediately understood the reason. Shangwan Fong Yi was a high profound class student. Naturally, he had contact with the vice president. Shangwan Fong Yi was a senior student in the academy for a few years, so his relationship with the faculty council was absolutely not bad. It turned out that Shangwan Fong Yi wanted to stand up for his sister. Yi-Ching Luo frowned, slowly rubbed her wrist. This is the way the president invites students. I have learned something. Don't be so shameless. The vice president's face sunk, raised his hand and swung it towards Yi-Ching Luo's face. Yi-Ching Luo still remembered that the vice president had pinched her jaw. This action, other than D.M.O. Xian, no one else could tolerate it. who stipulated that in the faculty council, in other people's territory, she had to be restrained. There was no way for her to obediently take a beating. Seeing that the vice president's hand was about to fall on Yi-Ching Luo's face, Yi-Ching Luo's figure suddenly flashed, raised her hand, and was about to counterattack. Suddenly, he felt a cold wind blowing in front of him. It was filled with a murderous aura. Yi-Ching Luo was shocked, somersaulted into the air, avoiding that profound chi. She lifted her eyes and looked in the president's direction. He retracted his sleeves, a gentle smile on his face. Let's talk things out. Don't fight. Yes, President. The vice president's cheeks were slightly red. She obediently withdrew her hand and walked to the president's side. I am the president of the faculty council, Si Yen-mu. Yuer's way of doing things is indeed a little too extreme, but this is also for the sake of harmony in the academy. Si Yen-mu's lips curled up into a smile, and his fair palm rested on the wooden table. When that pair of warm eyes met with Yi-Ching Luo, Yi-Ching Luo only felt a burst of coldness attacking her entire body. She couldn't help but tremble. According to student Shangwan's report, after student Shangwan entered the dormitory, you wanted to drive her out of the dormitory, and after the assessment, you threw her things in the hall and did not allow her to sleep in the room. Is this true? When Si Yen-mu finished asking these questions, Shangwan Lu-li, who was sitting by the side, covered her face and sobbed. President, you are the god in the hearts of the students. The instructor likes Yi's 7th miss and will not listen to Lu-li's words. Lu-li can only seek help from you. You must help Lu-li. Chapter 191. The existence of the faculty council is to provide students with a harmonious learning environment. Si Yen-mu smiled brightly and slowly got up. That green and white uniform made his figure look slender and straight. The same academy uniform had a completely different effect on different people. Shangwan Fangyi was already considered as a handsome and elegant young master, but Si Yen-mu stood beside him. In an instant, Shangwan Fangyi's brilliance was overshadowed. Si Yen-mu slowly walked in front of Yi-Ching Luo and stood still. Squinting his eyes as if sizing up goods, he scanned Yi-Ching Luo from head to toe. The freshman Yi-Ching Luo. The power released by a yellow profound 9th grade cultivator was far beyond that of a yellow profound cultivator. Lu Shuiyu could be by his side as his vice president. Her strength was naturally not to be underestimated. But just now, Yi-Ching Luo actually avoided Lu Shuiyu's slap and hit back instead. If it wasn't for him, this slap would have landed on Lu Shuiyu's face. Si Yen-mu's eyes flickered slightly. No wonder the one above pointed out to him to pay attention to Yi-Ching Luo. The existence of such an uncontrollable person was indeed a threat. Have you seen enough? Yi-Ching Luo hated this kind of scrutinizing gaze, as if she had been peeled off completely and seen into the depths of her heart. This feeling of being peeped at was very uncomfortable. No, student Yi is a rare beauty. How could I have seen enough? Si Yen-mu smiled warmly. These words, no matter how one listened, had a hint of ridicule. But when it came out from Si Yen-mu's mouth, it seemed so reasonable. This kind of gentle and refined appearance was indeed a sharp weapon for killing. And after Si Yen-mu finished his sentence, Lu Shuiyu, who was standing by the wooden table, her face suddenly turned extremely ugly. A pair of fierce eyes stared jealously at Yi-Ching Luo. Cut the crap. The faculty council could develop to this stage today. Presumably the president is also a reasonable person. Who is right and who is wrong? The president should know better than anyone else. Yi-Ching Luo sneered. She didn't care about Si Yen-mu deliberately aroused Lu Shuiyu's hostility towards her. Anyway, whether Si Yen-mu did this or not, Lu Shuiyu had already regarded her as an enemy. Arrogant indeed. Si Yen-mu narrowed his eyes. Student Yi, don't you know that it is not good for you to be so arrogant in someone else's territory? I haven't done anything more arrogant yet. Yi-Ching Luo's pink lips curved upwards as a smile bloomed on her lips. That smile was peerless and magnificent, especially that pair of bewitching eyes, which curved into a long and enchanting arc, made people even more intoxicated by her smile. Even Si Yin Mu was slightly stunned by this smile. And it was precisely because of this daze, which gave Yi Qing Luo an opportunity to take advantage of. She spread her fingers, and the glowing flame fan appeared on her fingertips. Without any fancy moves, Yi Qing Luo leaned close to Si Yin Mu, lifted her elbow, and with a twist of her body, the feather fan was already on Si Yin Mu's neck. A sharp knife was hidden in the feather fan. A slight movement, and Si Yin Mu's arteries would be cut. Yi Qing Luo's action was so fast that no one could react. No matter how fast Si Yin Mu's reaction was, he didn't expect Yi Qing Luo to be so daring and arrogant. Yi Qing Luo, how dare you hold the president hostage? Do you not want to mingle in the academy anymore? Lu Shuiyu's face was ferocious, gritting her teeth and pointing at Yi Qing Luo. Chapter 192. The faculty council is clearer than anyone else about the matters in the academy, and the president coerced me to come here. It is nothing more than a fight for the Shangwan family's reputation. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows slightly. Her eyes were filled with contempt. If I hold you hostage, I will die. If I don't, I will still die. Since that's the case, why don't I drag you down with me? The few of them couldn't refute what she said. On the contrary, Si Yin Mu, whose artery was pressed by the feather fan, looked as indifferent as ever. But deep in his heart, he was somewhat interested in Yi Qing Luo. Since student Yi is a straightforward person, I shall not say any more nonsense. Si Yin Mu raised his head slightly. The sharp blade on the handle of the fan instantly cut his skin. A drop of blood slid down along the feather fan. Si Yin Mu frowned in pain. You think I don't dare to make a move? Yi Qing Luo's feather fan rotated and switched to the other side of Si Yin Mu's neck. The cold fan handle floated around his neck slightly. She snorted lightly. Her eyes overflowed with some seductive light. Her voice was suppressed, revealing a very charming voice. I am a madman. Once I am unhappy, my hand will shake. In this shake, the knife will not have eyes. Let's make a bet. See if I kill you first, then easily escape from the faculty council. Or, I kill you, then your people catch me. When these words came out, the few people around were so angry that they almost vomited blood. Damn, this was too arrogant. Kill at the slightest disagreement. Even daring to kill the president of the faculty council. Lu Shuiyu and the rest absolutely believed that Yi Qing Luo was serious in what she said. Bet or not. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up slightly, smiling charmingly. But this time, this smile, in the eyes of the crowd, there was no ripple like before. Instead, they felt that this smile came from hell. A freshman actually had such a powerful aura and oppressive force. Even if they had experienced hundreds of battles, they were also terrified. If such a freshman was allowed to grow, how terrifying would he be in the future? Especially, this freshman would definitely be an enemy in the future. Si Yin Mu's expression was calm. He looked down and met with Yi Qing Luo's enchanting eyes. As their eyes met, Si Yin Mu revealed a very shallow smile. Just like his usual gentle smile, it made people feel warm. His watery eyes seemed to be able to dispel all the coldness. Yi Qing Luo's eyes sunk as her fingers tightened. Sure enough, the next moment, Si Yin Mu's figure fell backwards, his hands raised upwards and turned into a palm wind, gently patting towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. That palm strike was extremely strange. As he moved, it was impossible to determine the direction of his palm. Yi Qing Luo had already made preparations the moment she saw that strange smile on his face. The minute he moved, Yi Qing Luo followed closely. She agilely dodged his palm strike, and the feather fan at the tip of her fingers still stuck close to his neck. When Si Yin Mu's palm wind became swift and fierce, aiming at Yi Qing Luo's movement, he struck down with his palm. Yi Qing Luo flipped over and went behind Si Yin Mu. She lifted her leg and gave his ass a kick. Si Yin Mu staggered a few steps and half knelt on the ground, almost falling flat on his face. Since young, Si Yin Mu had always been a proud son of heaven, growing up in the envy and support of everyone. His amazing talent and ability to cultivate profound qi, It was destined that he had never been bullied by anyone. Mu wiped the blood stains on his neck. His gaze gradually turned cold. Unexpectedly, the first person to injure him was a yellow, profound ninth-grade freshman. His self-esteem had suffered a serious blow. Chapter 193. A murderous look flashed across Mu's eyes. He wanted to kill Yi-Ching Luo, kill this freshman who made him lose face. Mu clenched his fists, and profound chi burst out of his body. An oppressive pressure that made one's heart sink instantly pressed down on them. Shangguan Liuli, who was at the lower profound grade, could not withstand such pressure, and a mouthful of blood spurted out from her throat. Even Shangguan Fangyi's face had turned a little pale. Not to mention Yi-Ching Luo, who was only at the yellow profound grade. No matter how strong her potential was, with the protection of the divine weapon and the sacred beast, but the profound grade was still there. When Mu's pressure swept over, Yi-Ching Luo suddenly felt that there was a huge stone in her chest, pressing hard on her heart. Sinking bit by bit, her throat was filled with a fishy sweetness. She took a deep breath. Her charming eyes suddenly became piercingly cold, and with a leap, she headed towards the direction of Mu. The feather fan unfolded, rolled up a wave of air, lingering around her. Although this wave of air could not help Yi-Ching Luo to resist the pressure released by Mu, but it could more or less resist some of the pressure. Student Yi, don't be too arrogant. Let me teach you the principle of there is always someone better than you. Mu still had this smile on his face, but between his eyes, there were two rays of piercingly cold light. Yi-Ching Luo squinted her eyes, unable to see through Mu's profound jade heart. But from the pressure of the profound grade, she could feel it. Mu was definitely a profound cultivator of the earth profound grade. Earth profound. No wonder he was the president of the faculty council. His strength was so strong. If she had known earlier, she should not have kicked his, but she should have directly kicked his front. Yi-Ching Luo held her breath, watching Mu's movements with vigilance, ready to cast the teleportation secret technique at any time. Originally, she did not intend to reveal her trump card too early. After all, before her strength matured, if she revealed her trump card, wouldn't the enemy be prepared to guard against her? Hiding her own unique skill was to give herself another way to save her life. But now, Yi-Ching Luo had no other choice. Mu looked at Yi-Ching Luo with a sneer, hoping to see panic and fear on her face, begging for mercy. However, he was disappointed. There was no expression on Yi-Ching Luo's face, only a pair of narrow, long eyes, staring sharply at him. Mu's eyes turned cold. How dare she look down on him? His 5 fingers suddenly spread open, and a stream of profound energy condensed in his palm. Immediately, an even more powerful aura filled the room and merged with the air. Waves of air began to distort in the air, forming layers of ripples. This power was so strong that it was suffocating. Yi-Ching Luo moved her feet and was about to cast her teleportation and follow the path in her memory to escape from the faculty council. Suddenly, the president's room's door was kicked open and a white figure, like lightning, speedily dashed in front of Yi-Ching Luo. Mu, do you not want to be the president anymore? How dare you touch the person I want to protect? Old man Guiyu's face was gloomy and his eyes were sharp as he stared coldly at Mu. He raised one hand and easily suppressed the profound chi released by Mu. Yi-Ching Luo was slightly stunned. The white robe hanging loosely on the frail little body in front of her seemed to be hanging on his body. Usually, he was crazy and didn't care about anything. But at this moment, he stood in front of her without hesitation to protect and defend her. Chapter 194. Master Guiyu? Mu was shocked. His attack was easily intercepted by old man Guiyu. Mu had been in the Heavenly Academy for such a long time and was the president of the faculty council. Nothing in the academy could escape his eyes. But only Guiyu he could not figure out. Guiyu's position in the academy was extremely strange. He did not teach any classes and did not make any contribution to the Heavenly Academy. All he did was drink and wander around the academy. But all the teachers kept a respectful distance from Old Man Guayu. Even if they met, the masters would lower their statuses and be gentle towards Old Man Guayu. In the 6 years in the academy, Si Yin-mu had never seen Guayu in action. He did not know how strong Guayu's profound level and ability were. This time, he finally experienced it personally. Did you ask for my permission before bringing the person I want to protect to the faculty council? Guayu grabbed Si Yin-mu's collar and slapped him on the face. He did not give Si Yin-mu any face. President. Lu Shuiyu was scared and ran over quickly, trying to stop Guayu. But how could her speed be faster than Guayu? Only to hear a clear and crisp slap. Si Yin-mu's face had an additional scarlet palm print. A mouthful of blood spurted out from Si Yin-mu's mouth and splashed on Lu Shuiyu's face. Not sure if it was because Si Yin-mu was shocked by the first slap in his life, or because he was scared by the blood on his face. Lu Shuiyu stood rooted to the ground with a face full of blood. Guayu released Si Yin-mu's collar. As soon as the 5 fingers loosened, Si Yin-mu's body was flung into the air, rolled a few times in the air, and fell heavily on Shangwan Liuli. Guayu's strength was strong. Si Yin-mu's impact pressed Shangwan Liuli and Shangwan Fangi on his body, and the 3 of them rolled into a ball. A few screams were heard, and Lu Shuiyu suddenly regained her senses. She wiped the blood on her face with one hand and said, "Master Guayu, the president invited student Yi over to verify some information. This is also to ensure the harmony of the students. I, your father's men, have the final say in whether they are harmonious or not." Old Man Guayu spat and scratched his messy hair. "I only know that if anyone dares to touch the person I'm protecting, I'll cripple him first." Lu Shuiyu was speechless. It was impossible to reason with Old Man Guayu. In Old Man Guayu's eyes, no matter how big the world was, it couldn't be bigger than his wishes. It couldn't beat his likes. He was the law. Lu Shuiyu suppressed the dissatisfaction in her heart. Her cold eyes swept to the side and fixed on the moment when Si Yin-mu was pressing down on Shangwan Liuli's body. Her eyes suddenly became cold. She snorted and walked quickly towards Si Yin-mu's direction. That damned Shangwan Liuli. She actually took the opportunity to seduce the president. Old Man Guayu turned around and looked at Yiqing Luo from head to toe to make sure that she was not hurt at all, and heaved a sigh of relief. "You lass, you clearly know that the other party has bad intentions, but you still obediently follow them. I say you're smart, but you're as dumb as a pig at the critical moment. If it wasn't for your roommate who found me, you wouldn't be able to walk out of this faculty council today." Yiqing Luo smiled and took the initiative to hold Old Man Guayu's arm. Yes, thanks to Master Guayu's timely arrival. Old Man Guayu got the praise and raised his head proudly. He snorted and said, "Look for me if there's anything. I'll help you solve it any time." This look was exactly like an old urchin. Yiqing Luo looked towards the direction of Si Yin-mu. Lu Shuiyu had lifted him up with one hand and pushed Shangwan Liuli hard. Chapter 195. Shangwan Liuli was implicated even though she was lying down. With such a heavy pressure from Si Yin-mu, his internal organs were almost squeezed out. Before she could get up, she was slapped down by Lu Shuiyu again. Shangwan Liuli wanted to cry, but had no tears, lying on the ground with no energy to get up. Yiqing Luo laughed softly. "Master Guayu, you are quite good at diverting the trouble." Anyone could tell that Lu Shuiyu was in love with Si Yin-mu to the point of being sick. Just like before, Si Yin-mu merely praised her, and Lu Shuiyu couldn't wait to kill her with her eyes. What's more, Old Man Guayu directly threw Si Yin-mu onto Shangwan Liuli. Skin-to-skin contact. Si Yin-mu was still on top of Shangwan Liuli. Lu Shuiyu hated Shangwan Liuli to the core. Shangwan Liuli probably never dreamed that she would ask her brother to seek revenge from the president of the faculty council. Not only did she not seek revenge, she had also made a powerful enemy in the academy. "What diverting trouble? I just casually threw you away." Old man Guayu's sharp eyes glanced at Shangwan Lu Li, who was lying on the ground, crying out in pain with a disdainful look. Well, she had overestimated old man Guayu. Lu Shuiyu wanted to help Si Yin move back to the wooden chair, but Si Yin Mu waved his hand and stopped her. Si Yin Mu held Lu Shuiyu's wrist tightly, and with her strength, he slowly walked to the front of old man Guayu. Master Guayu, I have been busy with the Academy's affairs these days and do not know much about the outside world, and did not know that Student Yi is your student. Si Yin Mu said word by word. While he was speaking, his lips moved and the muscles on his face were twitching, causing a burst of pain. Si Yin Mu was filled with anger and his pride was being trampled on, but he still had to be polite. Today, third young master Shangwan mentioned that fifth Miss Shangwan was bullied in the dormitory and suffered from bullying in the academy. As the president of the faculty council, my responsibility is to maintain the peace of the academy. So, I invited Student Yi over to verify the situation. This blame was directly thrown to Shangwan Fangyi. Shangwan Fangyi was angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. He covered his painful abdomen, grimaced in pain, and didn't dare to say anything. If I knew that Student Yi was your student, I definitely wouldn't dare to act rashly. Teacher, please forgive me for causing this misunderstanding. In the Heavenly Academy, the status of the masters was higher than the students. He had always believed in the principle of respecting one's teacher. Because of this, no matter how strong the students were, even if they were from the high profound class, they would still have to greet a teacher with a horizontal bar, especially when they were up against the temperamental and mysterious Guayu. Si Yin Mu was able to become the president of the faculty council, so naturally, he was not a fool. A wise man submits to circumstances. When it's time to be a coward, one should be a coward. Old man Guayu sneered. If you don't know how to be the president, then let my Luo last take over. His words stirred up tens of thousands of waves. The entire room fell into a deathly silence. Yiqing Luo was also shocked. Give the president to her. Are you sure you're not joking? Teacher Guayu, the position of the president must be voted by all the students and teachers in the academy. I have been the president of the faculty council for 4 years, and I have done my best for the affairs of the faculty council. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Old man Guayu dug his ears impatiently and dozed off after listening to Si Yin Mu's long-winded speech. If you could be the president, then do a good job. If not, get lost. Chapter 196. All right, I'll bring you back first. Your roommate is worried about you. When he faced Yiqing Luo, he had a kind face, but when he turned to Si Yin Mu, he immediately turned fierce. Since Luo Lass is not interested in the position of president, I will let you continue to sit on it. After that, he pulled Yiqing Luo's arm, turned around, and walked away suavely. The few people behind did not dare to step forward to stop them. After the figures of old man Guayu and Yiqing Luo disappeared at the door, the expression on Si Yin Mu's face suddenly changed. His pair of gentle eyes were covered with a touch of hostility. He clenched his fists, and his chest violently rose and fell. The burning pain on his face declared the humiliation he had suffered today. President, Lu Shuiyu helped Si Yin move back to the wooden chair and took out a handkerchief to wipe the wound on his face. Si Yin Mu's muscles twitched in pain. The haze in his eyes deepened. The palm on the wooden table clenched into a fist, the blue veins popping out. This freshman is too arrogant. If we don't stop her now, when she grows up, I'm afraid it will be disadvantageous to the faculty council. Lu Shuiyu looked at Si Yin Mu with distress, took out the medicine, and applied it. Si Yin Mu was very clear about this point. What the faculty council was most afraid of was a student that they could not control. Once out of control, it would easily cause trouble to the faculty council. What's more, the people above had instructed him to keep a close eye on Yiqing Luo. Now that he had failed to subdue Yiqing Luo, it would be a huge loss of face. With old man Guayu protecting Yiqing Luo, his task would be difficult to complete. Oh yes, President, there seems to be a secret guard protecting Yiqing Luo. That guard's strength is very high. He followed all the way into the faculty council before I was alerted. Lu Shuiyu recalled the hidden guard, and her heart was in her throat. Other than Si Yin Mu, there was no one else who could escape her senses. Find someone to keep an eye on her. Si Yin Mu's fingers scratched his cheek, his eyes darkened. This freshman's background was absolutely not simple. As they walked out of the main entrance of the faculty council, the students coming and going looked at them. Yiqing Luo and Old Man Guiyu walked side by side. Old Man Guiyu was talking about her. The students who came and went were all very surprised. The news of Yiqing Luo being issued a statement by the faculty council to keep an eye on her for half a month had spread throughout the entire academy. Everyone knew that this new student who had just entered the academy had become famous and was being targeted by the faculty council. Moreover, not long ago, Yiqing Luo was invited by the vice president to the faculty council under everyone's watchful eyes. The news spread like wildfire. The students all thought that even if Yiqing Luo returned from the faculty council, she would probably have her thorns removed and become extremely obedient. But now, Yiqing Luo was actually unscathed, swaggering out of the faculty council. He was even talking and laughing with Old Man Guiyu. Could it be this new student had joined hands with Teacher Guiyu to give the faculty council a show of strength? Qing Luo, are you all right? Lu Xiaoyu, who had been guarding the door, anxiously walked over and pulled Yiqing Luo over, sizing her up. Thanks to you calling the teacher in time, I'm fine. Yiqing Luo shook her head and patted Lu Xiaoyu's shoulder. The two of them chatted for a while, seeing that it was getting late and both of them were hungry. They bade farewell to Old Man Guiyu and went to the cafeteria. In the cafeteria, they were baptized by a wave of students' gazes. Remembering that there was a more rigorous training tomorrow morning, the two of them returned to the dormitory after their meal. The things in the dormitory hall had been tidied up. Chapter 197. She was forced to change the dormitory. Mo Ingyu's lips twitched slightly, curving into an arc. This was the first time Yiqing Luo saw a smile on this adorable face. Lu Xiaoyu blinked her eyes and laughed gloatingly. Isn't there a strict rule that no student is allowed to change dormitory? Lu Xiaoyu's question made the hatred in Shangwan Lu Li's eyes deepen. But Shangwan Lu Li still held back her anger and swallowed it down. She staggered out of the dormitory with a lot of things in her arms. When she reached the door, Shangwan Lu Li gritted her teeth and turned her head to glare at Yiqing Luo. You can't be arrogant for long. Just you wait. After that, she strode out of the dormitory. Her lifted leg suddenly tripped over something. Shangwan Lu Li's body fell uncontrollably to the ground and the luggage on her flew out. Ha! A few giggles came from the door. She saw a few beautiful girls in the academy uniform standing at the door, looking at Shangwan Lu Li with ridicule. You guys! Shangwan Lu Li's eyes turned red with anger as she quickly climbed up from the ground and pointed at those girls angrily. How dare you trip me? Are you tired of living? This kind of trick had always been used by her to trick others. Since when was it someone else's turn to trick her? Shangwan Lu Li, you have to remember, this is the Heavenly Academy, not your Shangwan family. The girls laughed. If you want to throw a tantrum, go back to your Shangwan family. This is not a place for you to behave atrociously. Shangwan Lu Li's little face flushed red. Since young, when had she suffered such grievances? Ever since she came to the academy and met Yiqing Luo, she had been bullied. Yiqing Luo was simply her nemesis. The hatred and disgust towards Yiqing Luo grew deeper and deeper. Yiqing Luo's brows raised slightly as her charming eyes wandered to the few girls at the door and fixed on their badges. The one in front was a student from the high profound class. The two behind were students from the intermediate profound class. These senior students actually came to her dormitory. Those young ladies who were laughing loudly as they watched Shangwan Lu Li pick up the parcel on the ground and fled, noticed Yiqing Luo's line of sight and immediately turned their heads over as a fawning smile hung on their faces. Student Yi, the vice president, has already reported the matter between you and Shangwan Lu Li to the academy. The academy has allowed Shangwan Lu Li to change her dormitory. The girl from the high profound class was Lu Shuiyu's follower, Jinran. Someone from the faculty council? Yiqing Luo lifted her eyelids as she sneered at Jean Rand's fawning smile. The faculty council was really aggrieved this time. He was injured and humiliated, yet he still had to smile and serve her. A person like Si Yin Mu, would he be willing? Yiqing Luo didn't believe it. From Si Yin Mu's eyes, Yiqing Luo could see his ambition and strong self-esteem. He would not let her off so easily. Who's your new roommate? Lu Xiaoyu beamed with joy. She suddenly felt that the air in the dormitory had become fresh after Shangwan Liuli. That annoying woman was gone. Jean Rand smiled. That depends on the arrangement of the academy. The new roommate should be here later. Was it the arrangement of the academy or the faculty council? This needed to be investigated. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she smiled faintly. Thank you for your concern. There's training tomorrow morning. Xiaoyu and I have to rest first, so we won't be sending you off. Jean Rand's smile stiffened. She wanted to take the opportunity to enter the dormitory and get some information from Yiqing Luo. Thinking of the task that Lu Shuiyu assigned, Jean Rand forced a smile. Student Yi, it's still early.